Anytime now. Come on, YouTube.
Getting that thing started.
You can do it. Come on. Hey, there we are.
There we are. You had to crank it just like the old school cars. You got to crank that shaft.
Yep. Like push starting my car in high school because
yep, exactly.
the starter was busted, and so every third start it would just refuse to do anything, and so I'd have to stick one leg out the car and give it a little bump.
Oh yeah, pop the clutch.
No, it was give it a little bump out of a parking spot, pop the clutch, and then the starter will work again.
Just again.
it would just seize randomly. It was
nice.
Great. Welcome to Talking Heads, everyone. Episode 162, your once-weekly live show for the latest in beer and tech news. I'm Jeff.
And I'm Steve.
Welcome to the show, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on this Wednesday night, or for listening us on the replay in podcast form over on Anchor.fm or wherever your favorite podcasts are found. If you've never seen the show before, we talk beer, we talk tech, we talk beer, we talk tech, we talk games, pop culture, news, entertainment, usually some Star Trek.
Usually.
Yep. And I got to turn on RTX voice because my wife's going to start the laundry. Which I will get that rolling here in just a second. Broadcast. There we go. Let's see. Welcome to Talking Heads, everyone. Episode 162. Your once-weekly live show, the latest in beer and tech news. I'm Jeff. He's Steve. Thank you for joining us on the show or listening to the replay wherever your podcasts are found or over on Anchor.fm. If you've never seen the show before, we talk beer, we talk tech, we talk games, pop culture, news, entertainment, usually some Star Trek. Gosh, I've completely lost the plot.
and clothes washing, I guess.
Yeah, and something about clothes washing and RTX voice.
Yeah.
All super chats are read on the air. We do drink alcohol in the show. If you're drinking along with us, please let us know what it is down in chat, and we'll give some early show shout outs. This is a family-friendly show as much as we can make it that. And we do read super chats so long as they meet our family-friendly criteria. Discord. Yeah, that's right. There it is.
That's right. Discord, yes.
Good Lord.
Always come on to Discord.
I'm just gonna stop the stream and start it again and see if that'll work.
You're gonna fake a failure, like, oh, I lost connection.
Oh no, YouTube!
That was really just a fevered dream.
Yep. No, well, I'm having problems.
Well, that's normal.
Everything else is going fine. Thanks. Oh, anyway. I think that's good enough. Join the Patreon or the float plane down below. Get access to the Discord. Join the community and listen to me even more brain loose than am now. Why lot words when few words make sense?
Yes. Cavemen were just more efficient at communicating.
Yes. Oh, it's going to be a good one tonight.
Yeah, I can already tell. It's going to be delicious.
How you doing, Steve?
Not bad. Tired, but good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were both talking before the show how tired we were, and sometimes that goes one of two directions with me. I think we're going direction number 2 with me tonight, where it's just like brain hurty. Brain. I go sleep now, please. Like all of a sudden I'm talking with toddler dialect.
You need that movie record scratch sound effect. That every time. So every time you make a mistake, you can just hit that button.
Right. Yep. We might even need a dump button tonight. All right, man. It has been a long time since I've actually seen you on camera. I was looking at it. It's been 6 weeks because we had Thanksgiving in between there. There was a guest host in between as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Welcome back.
Yeah. Hey, thanks. Hasn't changed much. I'm still here. Haven't gone anywhere, just like most people.
Yep. I've been
as much
here.
Yeah.
Right.
Nothing else going on.
Yep. So. All right. Hoping it's a good show tonight. I know I'm really selling this one for you guys, but we do have a lot of good things to talk about. A couple of really, really funny couple of exploits that, number one, I never saw coming, and number two, boy, I probably should have seen it coming, and I probably could have guessed the company too had you given me some preamble to that. But let's start the show off right. I don't have my beer in front of me. I need to get that out of the fridge. So, Steve, why don't you tell the audience what you're having?
All right, so let's see. First beer I have is from Stormbreaker Brewing. It's the triple IPA. It's just called, I think it's either triple IPA or is it's triple double IPA with a rip. I don't know why they have that. It's weird. I don't know. Anyway, it's got 10 different hops in there, so I thought that was interesting. 10 different hops. So we'll see if too many hops spoil the broth or what. But
Rogue does there's 6 hop, 7 hop, 10 hop, 11, 12. And there's some hits and misses in between there. Like the 6 is really good, the 7 is not, and the 10 is amazing.
It's all about the combo that they put in there, and sometimes the right amount, even the great number of them, if all the flavors blend well together, that's gonna be a good IPA.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Stormbreaker, I've had a few of their beers before. They're kind of hit and miss for me. Yeah. So we'll see. I have a good old classic German Wessenstaffener, the Vitus. Very good German beer.
Weizenstaffner?
Weizenstaffner. Yeah, that's Weizenstaffner. That's right. I think you're right.
Yeah.
And then I have the Cest les Saison, which is the bourbon barrel aged Cest les Saison.
Nice.
Pretty beefy, 10%. Bourbon barrel aged Saison.
I don't know that I've ever had a bourbon barrel Saison. I don't know that I have.
That's why I picked. There was like a series of 3.
Yeah. And
I picked them up because I don't see barrel aged Saisons that much.
Right.
They had the bourbon. They had the champagne. They had the white wine, red wine, and bourbon barrel aged. I think is what it was. Yeah.
Nice.
So I got all 3.
Yeah. And
this is the bourbon version. So.
Very cool. For my selections tonight, I went. There is a theme here, and the theme is barrel aged because both of the beers are barrel aged, but they are 2 wildly different styles. First up, from Crooked Stave Artisan Beer Project, it's Lebret al Blueberry. It is a golden sour ale aged in barrels with blueberries.
Okay.
This one's aged in oak, so not necessarily bourbon barrel aged, but it is a barrel aged golden sour.
Okay.
So that one should be interesting. And then from super fan of the show, Andrew, he sent this in a couple of weeks ago. I opened it up, and today I'm finally cracking the top on one. This is from Zipline Brewing, just called The Stout. Now, the Stout is an ale aged in bourbon barrels, and it's 13.8%.
Wow. Is that a 12-ounce bottle? Or
this is a 12. Yeah, it's a 12-ounce bottle.
I was going to say. Yeah. That would be hard to get through a 22 that big. 13%, you said?
13.8.
Ooh, yeah. If that was a 22.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're falling asleep pretty good with that.
I've done some 12s. I've done some full bombers of 12s before, but even this couple of extra percent, it adds up quick.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think my highest was the Saison, which was a 10%.
Yeah.
The Vitus, I think, is only 7.7.
Yep. So this week I'm drinking the Stout. They also have another version. The name is escaping me right now, but it's a special version of the Stout, and I have that bottle in the fridge as well. It is bourbon barrel aged with vanilla, cocoa, and habanero added.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I think I'm saving that one for next week. I think that's my Christmas beer.
It's called the Spicy Stout.
Right. So I'm going to start with the sour. We'll let that stout warm up on the table here for a little bit. And I think we can dive into this show. Let's see. Who's all drinking in the chat with us?
So we have somebody's got an Nkasi Hazy Domination IPA.
Budney. Yeah.
We have.
By the way, welcome to the Discord.
Yes.
I see you in chat all the time, and I saw you join this week, so thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Samuel Smith Obery Organic Chocolate Stout. I've had that before. That's very good. It's a nice, super chocolatey stout.
Nice. Let's see. Novella Hubs drinking a Spinal Brewery Hard Left. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And I think, let's see. Hello from New Zealand. My wife works at a brewery and was wondering if you've ever tried a beer brewed in a wine barrel. I don't know about brewed in a wine barrel, but aged in a wine barrel. Yes,
Aged,
several
yes.
times. Yeah, aged in wine barrels.
Yeah, in fact, I think I have one in my fridge right now that was aged in port barrels.
Yes, I've had port barrels, red wine barrels, white wine barrels, all different kinds of wines. Yeah, I've had several that were aged in wine barrels.
It's not near as common, especially here in the States, as we do a lot of bourbon barrel or just straight up oak aging. But it is popular overseas to do a lot more wine aging with beers. So,
and they're not bad. I've had several that were actually pretty good, wine barrel aged.
Yeah. So Skull says Jeff and Steve making it hard to get the beer names out there this week. I gave what the name was. It's Crooked Stave, La Bretelle Blueberry.
I did say I couldn't. Okay, this is the weird.
Okay,
font
you're
on this
making
IPA.
it difficult.
I am making it difficult. I will agree. Stormbreaker, triple double Imperial IPA is what it's called. Triple double. The font is so weird and the coloring is so weird. It was kind of hard to read.
Yeah.
And then the Cestla Saison, Cestla Saison, the bourbon barrel aged version.
All right.
I don't know which one. I'm gonna do my IPA first, I think.
Always a good way to start.
Yeah.
So that golden ale is all blueberry.
Oh wow! Yeah, look at that. All right.
Oh, and that is all sour.
Oh, is it kind of like a super tart sour? Is it going to be one of those that's going to be hard to get through?
It's not quite kettle sour.
Okay, that's good because I don't like kettle sours.
It is super tart. So it's definitely tart.
Yeah, ever since jammy sours started to become more popular, it's going back to the traditional super sours.
Yeah.
Kind of hard for me now, I guess, because I'm expecting that I just want a little bit of extra sweetness to it.
Right.
I kind of resent the old traditional sours. I still like them.
Yeah.
But I kind of resent them a little bit.
So far, all I'm getting out of this is sour.
Sour, no blueberries.
No blueberry, no oak, no golden ale. It's just sour.
doing a sour beer right is very hard. Cascade does an excellent job at doing sours right. DeGard does an excellent job at doing sours right.
Yeah, DeGard especially.
Just a little too.
I'm gonna think about this one.
The overly tart ones, they tend to dry my mouth out so badly.
Yeah.
And I don't want to drink it anymore sometimes.
Let's just say I'm really looking forward to the stout now. But
okay, this one I kind of like.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The hop profile is very good, not overly bitter. There's a good sweet malt body to this, kind of thick, viscous, sweet. The citrus notes kind of come forward right up front, but in the back it's kind of a nice, sweet, mellow flavor. Yeah, I like this. This is really good.
Nice. Cranberry tart looks more cranberry than blueberry. No, I like cranberry juice. I love straight up cranberry juice. Like I like tart. And in fact, cranberry juice is like my number one go-to here in the studio when I'm working. It's either water or cranberry juice most of the time.
Yeah.
And boy, this is not cranberry. It is all blueberry as far as like the sourness of blueberries. But I'm not getting any of the sweetness of blueberries. I'm not getting any of the golden strong ale kind of flavor poking through. I'm not getting hops. I'm not getting malt. It's just
all sour.
It's the sour part of sour worms.
Yeah,
is the best way I can describe it. Like it's the sour without the sweet payoff at the end.
I do want to try because I saw, and I think somebody mentioned in the chat, that there's a Warheads sour beer, like the Warheads candy, the sour candies. I want to try that. I'd like to try that, but I don't think they have it around in this area. I'd have to have it shipped out to me or something like that.
Yeah.
John found that Transformer beer with Optimus Prime and Rodimus Prime.
Yeah.
On it. Those are both sours too.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that is.
All right, let's go ahead and dive into this week's stories, starting with one of the most creative hardware exploits I have ever seen in my life. And I don't know if you read all the way to the bottom where they listed more of the hardware exploits that this lab has come out with.
And I've actually read a few of them before.
I've read a couple of them.
Yeah, I was like, oh, these are the guys.
Right.
Like, these are the same guys.
Right.
Because I was reading it, I'm like, oh, I remember this one real clever exploit that I can't remember the name of who did it, and so on and so forth.
I remember,
and I get to the bottom, I'm like, oh yeah.
I remember the hard drive activity light one. I've heard of that one.
That was
before.
the one I heard one. Yes,
and there were a couple others, but this just goes beyond creative. So, the title of this is it's on ZDNet. Academics turn RAM into Wi-Fi cards to steal data from air-gapped systems.
Yep.
Now, first, let's get into what an air-gapped system is. An air-gapped system is a closed proprietary network that has no exfiltration. It is a 100% bubble network with nothing leading to another network. There's no internet connection. There's no extra servers added. It's your internal server stack and your internal workstations and nodes, and that's it.
Yep.
And no possibility of bridging anything else. There's not a machine on there that has internet access or even monitors any other network. Everything is closed. Mm-hmm. So why is that important? Well, an air-gapped system, you can't exactly get malware onto and then exfiltrate data from it because they have nowhere to send that data.
Exactly.
So what this lab has, it's a lab in Israel. It's a university in Israel, has come up with is if they can tune the DDR memory sticks on a PC to the 2.4 gigahertz range, they can actually turn it into a rudimentary Wi-Fi card and pass data at up to 100 bits per second.
Yes.
To a waiting cell phone up to about 2 to 3 meters away.
Yep.
So it's not a huge transmission range.
No.
But it's still defeating the air gap, which is absolutely insane.
Yep, it's defeating the air. Now, there's to make the RAM change frequencies like that. Mm-hmm. There does have to be. They don't say how it's done, but they do say something. The exploit has to be put on that machine first.
Yes.
But they said it's fairly easy to do because it doesn't require root or admin or anything like that to get it on there. So I'm not too sure what that is, but
right. Time to wrap everything in aluminum foil. Right.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And actually, wrinkled aluminum foil, not smooth.
Yeah.
You got to bounce those beams.
You got to bounce those beams everywhere.
Yep.
That's why you crinkle up the tinfoil before you make a hat out of it.
Yep.
That bounces the alien control mind beams off into random directions.
Right. So like I said, as far as cleverness of hacks go, this one is near tops of the list that I've ever heard of. Especially for an exploit to get data off of a network. I've heard of, server admin hacks of this server in a remote warehouse will lock up from time to time and you need to do a physical, power reset to it. So what's the best way to do that? Well, you take one of your old decommissioned servers that's running just a basic version of Linux and has a network connection on it, and it has a script that you can automate from wherever you're at, and a pencil attached to the CD drive. And so the server will eject the CD drive and press and hold the power button and then retract, and it will physically restart the server. like there's some great stuff out there like that. But yeah, nothing that I've heard of that comes close to this. Now, I alluded to, there's also a list down below of all of their other exploits, and I wanted to get into some of those.
Yeah, some of these look pretty interesting too.
Because they sound amazing.
Some of them I don't even know how that would even work.
Right.
Like there was one where they use the what was it?
The GPU fan?
Uses security cameras' infrared capabilities to steal data from air-gapped networks. Mm-hmm. I'm not too sure how they do that. How does the infrared give them data?
That I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But because I didn't click on many of the links, I clicked on a couple of them.
I didn't. Yeah, I was just read the short descriptions, and I'm like, I'll have to go back and read on that because that seems pretty interesting.
So anyway, the name of this this exploit has been dubbed Airfi. And they have a whole host of exploits that they've come out with previously. There's one such as Let It Go, which I thought was very clever, which, as I alluded to, is stealing data via a hard drive activity LED.
Yep.
So pulsing it so much and then being able to read that either off of a camera or generating a Wi-Fi signal off of it.
Yep.
There's AirHopper, which is actually very similar to the Air Gap or the Airfi exploit, which actually tunes a GPU frequency up to the 2.4 gigahertz range to allow it to emit radio frequencies that are compatible with Wi-Fi, and a waiting mobile phone can read that interference. Basically, what these guys do is break all FCC guidelines in the name of exfiltrating data from air-gapped systems.
Yep. Like that movie Sneakers.
Right. Yeah. Use the HVAC control or use the HVAC systems to control malware on an air-gapped network. I've heard of that one. Let's see. And then there was one other that I wanted to... Oh, yeah. Steal data from air-gapped systems using keyboard LEDs. So.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, you just have lights flash, and if you can get a camera or something like that to record the flashing lights, you can use those flashings to decode whatever data you want it to be. Data, whatever.
Yep. So very, very interesting stuff. And like I said, near the tops of my that's cool as far as white hat, black hat kind of stuff goes.
Yeah.
As far as actual black hat, and as far as other real world exploits, and this one was actually carried out.
Oh yeah.
Boy, if you haven't heard of Solarwinds, you've never worked in IT long, or you haven't worked in IT long, I should say. Solarwinds is an IT management cloud provider, essentially, or services provider. They have a number of different fields that they try to work in, from Wi-Fi mapping to asset tracking, code version change, or change versions for coding and all kinds of stuff. They try to be a one-stop shop for IT and asset-related stuff to help run your business. They are probably most well known for their cold calls, emails / spam that they send out, but they do have 300,000 clients around the world. Some of them you may have heard of. Microsoft, McDonald's.
Yeah, even government agencies use it too.
Right. A lot of government agencies use SolarWind here in the States. Well, they found out this week they should probably take me up on my advice to use a password manager.
Yeah.
and not use very simple passwords, especially when your password to your entire company-wide update server is the name of your company plus 123.
SolarWinds 123.
SolarWinds 123.
Amazing. That's the combination of my luggage.
Was the root password for SolarWinds' entire update service. And not only was SolarWinds 123 the password used by their update service, they were told in 2009 that an IT firm and security researcher had reached out to them and said, you guys need to change this crap because it is going to burn you.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, 18 months later,
burned.
Hackers got access to their update packages and used SolarWinds update service to send out malicious packages to 18,000 of their 300,000 clients. Yeah.
Yeah. Big mistake.
Yes.
I know. Being an IT professional and then saying SolarWinds 123 as your password and not a password that expires either.
Right.
But I guess like most places, this different companies I've worked with and stuff like that, almost all of them have a password expiration within a couple of months.
Right.
Solarwinds doesn't have that. I guess I don't know.
Right?
Maybe it was a service account. I have no idea.
Yeah.
And the password didn't expire, but people used it to log in, I guess.
Yeah. I have two minds about password security. As far as admin, root, or even high-end service level credentials, those need to be on a rotation basis. But as far as your everyday Joe who walks into the office and he has access to his files and global shares, I don't care, because especially Carol in accounting, if I make her change her password every 90 days, all she's going to do is put a 1 and then a 2 and then a 3 at the end of her dog's name. You know, Fluffy 7 is the password of this month. Right. And so it doesn't do any good, and you're not really protecting anything, and all you're doing is creating more of a hassle. Now, there are reasons to protect low-level systems and prevent any access and any intrusion from the network, because any data breach is a data breach. But just have a good password policy in the first place, and make it so the password can't be Fluffy 7. Make it so it has to be 12, 13 characters long, and at a minimum. And eventually you get to Fluffy 1, 2, 3. Thank you, Ben. I'm of two minds about password security in general, as far as like, you need to focus on why you need to account, certain passwords to expire, and why sometimes it's not a good idea to have that.
Right.
But in the case of the root password to your backup servers or to your update servers,
being super simple.
That should probably be on rotation.
Yeah, that one definitely should be.
And it shouldn't have been Solarwinds. It shouldn't have been Solarwinds 1, 2, 3. It certainly should have been longer than the 12 characters that it is, or whatever long, 5 Solarwinds, so that's 5, 10, 13 characters.
13
pretty close for estimating. It should have been longer than 13 characters. It shouldn't have been readable. I'm thinking, 24, 32 characters, and get yourselves a password manager and have that on a 2-week rotation, where your employees actually never see the password. They either log in with certs to the password manager, and then the password manager is able to paste that in. Yep. Which is how we did a lot of things when I worked professionally.
That's how I do my things. I have a password manager that, it's no cloud password manager. It's all local, encrypted, type of thing. And in fact, I think my most secure password that I have, although I don't change it too often, is my Steam password.
Yeah.
It's probably the one that's the most...
what's funny is for a long time, my Steam password was my most secure password.
Oh, was it? Yeah. I used to have it. Well, first I just made it one big long phrase, and then I'm like, well, I'll just make it I'll change it to just some random characters, so just no way to guess it. But it used to be, "Oops, I crapped my pants." Yeah, was my password.
A lot of people say 2FA. For some organizations, 2FA works well, but there are other circumstances where you may not want that. And I know that sounds contradictory, but hear me out. 2FA only works if there's one person logging into one account, and that one person receives the 2FA response, and the response from the 2FA message is going to a device that is secure. Yeah. So for instances where it's like, this is your company issued cell phone and nothing goes on here but company data, that company knows that they can trust that cell phone because it's likely managed with an MDM, with a mobile device manager, and has wipe capabilities and is encrypted end to end and forced VPN and all that kind of stuff. In that case, yes, 2FA is an awesome idea. In the idea that 2FA is a be-all, end-all measure of security, it's not if your 2FA device isn't secure. Yeah. For the home user, like I said, it's me logging into my personal email account, and my personal email account texts my cell phone or has the Google, it was this you, hit yes. That's a secure method because I'm logging into my email and I trust my cell phone. But for a company, that gets a lot more complicated. Do you want someone else to sign off on someone logging into a service? So do you want 2FA to go to the regional manager? And does he go to sleep at any point in the day?
Yeah.
You know?
Or do they get to go on vacation at all?
Do you just trust all these random cell phones that people bring in? Do you know? There's a whole lot more conversation, especially when you're dealing with enterprise services like this and multiple managers and whatnot. How is your security? And in most cases, I could just say, you know what, we do trusted certs on everything, and we have a password manager that also has its own trusted cert. So you have 2 layers of security before you even get to the password login screen. And then once your password manager enters the password, you're good to go. That to me is a pretty good security practice without 2FA. So there's a lot of ways to skin a cat. Sorry, Rainbow. And 2FA for the home user, absolutely, it's probably the magic bullet that'll save you. For a company, it's a completely different situation. Especially if this is just a random service account with root access. There are some service accounts that need to communicate server to server. Who's 2FAing that?
Yeah. No
one. You set up trusted certs with expirations, every 3 weeks or 4 weeks, and you have a policy that issues new certificates and a checks and balance system for that. And then all the traffic between those is encrypted anyway. And so, yeah. But what about a password manager for your password manager?
Yeah, everybody needs one of those.
Hey, dog, I heard you like password managers.
Yeah, I just have sticky notes for my password manager. Mm-hmm. I just plaster them right there on my desktop.
See, and I always go enemy the state on that. I don't know if you've seen that, the Will Smith, Gene Hackman.
It's been a long time, because that was like early 2000s, I want to say.
Late 90s, early 2000s. Yeah, okay, it was back there a ways. Yeah, this was just after Independence Day, if I remember correctly. And so it was 99, 2000, maybe 2001. It was early. There's a phrase by Will Smith's wife in the movie when they're talking about political oversight of like the NSA and stuff like that. Uh-huh. And she goes, well, who's going to monitor these people? Well, they have monitors for that. Yeah, but who's going to monitor the monitor of the monitors?
Who's watching the watchers?
Right. Yeah, and that to me is the phrase that goes on in my head whenever someone mentions, business 2FA for multiple admin 2FA.
I think that was on even further back, War Games with Matthew Broderick. Mm-hmm. That's how he got the password and was able to hack into because he just opened up the drawer and saw the sticky note sitting there. It's like, oh, that's the password.
Yep.
Closed it. Exactly.
Nice shirt, red shirt ale. Yep.
Yeah, that's my shirt.
Yeah. So, someone finally saw it.
It's to die for.
What cigarette brand would they use?
Marlboro Reds, probably.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess.
Can I get the lieutenants? I only smoke lieutenants.
No, that Worf only smokes cools though.
It's probably true.
Well, wasn't that? I don't know if you watched. It's kind of Star Trek related. The Orville. Where did you ever watch that one?
I caught a couple episodes. Unfortunately, it's one that I just didn't get on my watch list. It is now.
Yeah,
right. Now I've been working my way back through Breaking Bad because it's amazing. But Orville is one of the next ones on my list.
Yeah, they have like a kind of Klingon-esque alien race on the thing. But I guess he started smoking cigarettes, and I guess for his race it's like highly addictive and gives like this just intense euphoria. So he gets super addicted to cigarettes.
Slurm. It's highly addictive.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. How's your beer treating you over there?
I am really enjoying this IPA, actually. I quite like it. I'm sipping it quite a bit. I haven't had a good IPA in a while, actually.
This is still very tart. Very, very tart.
Yes, I know. Are you just going to drink it faster so you can get it over with? Or
I'm having a hard time drinking it fast. That's the thing.
I know. That's what I say. Like really hardcore sours, you can't just suck them down because they just dry your mouth out.
Yeah. By the way, hey SPX Labs, I see you. Shout out. Yeah, no, this one, it's not quite drying my mouth out because I'm also salivating so much from the sourness.
Yes, okay.
But it also has a drying effect, so it's like the roof of my mouth is dry, but like there's a pool going on down below. Boy, I am just not sold on this one.
No.
Especially for the description, like golden ale aged in oak and blueberries, and it happens to be a sour. Like, I'm on board. That sounds great. This is like sour blueberry juice.
Yeah, just not great.
Right. What's the ABV on this? I didn't think it was that high. 6%.
Yeah, sours typically aren't super high. I mean, they can be, but for the most part, they aren't.
I can't repeat that one, but I see the shout back. So thank you.
I'm so okay.
I said I couldn't say it, Steve.
I didn't say it. I stopped.
Yeah, there's this. It's gosh, what's the? You know the old cartoons where it's like the seasons change day by day, and so it's like it's summertime and all the leaves drop, and all of a sudden all the leaves grow, and all of a sudden it's winter and all the leaves drop and there's snow on the ground. Yeah, that's kind of going on with my mouth, but it's like, you know, Sahara, Everglades. You know, it's just bouncing back and forth on me. Yeah. All right. I'm not ready to say this beer is terrible, but I'm definitely going to say it's not good.
Well, yeah, it's if you're not like gonna dump it out, it's not terrible, right?
Right. I'm not gonna dump it out. I wouldn't say I would ever drink it again.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, most sours that are really good will just have a touch of sweetness to it.
Yeah, this one has no sweetness at all.
Yeah.
There's nothing redeeming about it. It's just
sour.
It's just not good,
sour.
right?
Yeah, sour. That's just
very,
sour
very
for sour.
Yep.
I guess some people like that, but I need a little something.
Yep. Same here. All right, moving right along here. So DDR5 is getting even closer to a consumer release.
Yeah.
And in fact, we may see compatible motherboards coming up this next year, as has been rumored for a little while. Adding more fuel to that fire is that Team Group is now validating consumer DDR5 DIMMs. They are going through the IEEE process, and they have their first engineering samples of DDR5 memory in rapid testing right now. So pretty big news. Obviously, this comes with a pretty big uplift in bandwidth. I believe the base frequency is going to be 3200, if I recall correctly. And so there's usually a bunch of like rah when new memory comes out about the speed, because it was
4800.
Yeah, excuse me.
Yeah, 4800.
There's usually some rah about the speed of the memory that's coming out, because the previous version can't hit the original clocks, and we're kind of right at that point as well. Like, some enthusiast DDR3 memory would hit 2133, and sometimes you'd see some DDR3 2400 megahertz. But oh man, were those expensive and high latency and everything else. And then DDR4 came out, and people went 2133, like
heads explode.
Right. Which was double the DDR3 spec of 1066, which was not quite double what was DDR4? DDR4 was 400. That's right.
Yeah.
400 at a max, which was well above the 233 base of DDR1. Sorry, I'm dating myself at this point. PC 133. But 4800 megahertz DDR5 memory speed is going to become the standard memory speed, and we're gonna go up from there.
Nice.
So
and I just upgraded not too long ago to DDR4.
Yeah.
Everything is DDR4 now, and then now it's DDR5 is still not going to be probably the norm, and then well distributed until like late next year.
I would say 2022 is when it's going to be.
You think so? More mainstream?
Starting to come out for a lot of more consumer products. I haven't heard anything that that Zen 4 is going to adopt DDR5. I think that's going to wait until the next cycle
okay.
So that's my guess anyway.
So,
because
exciting news, but it's still it's out there.
Correct.
It's still out there.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because their next process is going to be 7 nanometer plus, and then they're going to drop to 5 nanometer. And I think when they drop to 5 nanometer is probably when they're going to go to DDR5. Who knows if Intel will try to sneak in a DDR5 chip? Who knows if Intel will sneak a DDR5 chip into their 14 nanometer process? We'll see.
Who knows?
And I wonder why I don't get Intel samples.
They take one look at your channel like, well, let me give this guy anything.
Yep. Well, I am going to make NVIDIA mad with one of my tutorials because I'm doing a quick little video on bypassing the NVENC limit on NVIDIA consumer cards. So if you get a GTX 1050, you can... now, all consumer NVIDIA cards have a 2-stream max for NVENC simultaneously. There's a patch out there where you can patch the driver, and you can do as many as the chip will handle. And so you can buy GTX 1050 and stream like 10 1080p streams with it.
Oh, wow.
So
I got that many. I got like one other person sharing my Plex server, so I don't really need that.
Yeah, I've got 4 or 5, and I'll see them pop on every once in a while.
Yeah.
So I have a GTX 1060 in my main Plex box, and it handles 6, 7 very, very easily.
Oh, yeah, no problem there. Yeah, no, I literally there's me, and then there's one other person, and that's it. So I don't need that much firepower.
Heck, I can get 3 going in my house at one time.
Yeah, see, my son, of all the shows that I download for him and stuff like that, or I grab for him, he just likes watching Minecraft YouTube videos.
Yeah.
That's all he likes watching. So it's like, fine. I don't have to worry about that.
SPX Labs, $10 donation. I think I owe you a beer for that one time. Thank you so much, buddy. Next round's on me. If we ever get to go out of the house again. So...
someone was asking me, is that a Corsair Void Pro white gaming headset? Yes, it is. And it goes with my white Corsair mouse.
Yeah, he's got a match.
Yeah, I gotta have a match.
He's so vain.
I call it the Stormtrooper aesthetic. It's all white and black.
Did you end up using that 303 case that I gave you, or the white one?
Yes, I did.
Nice.
I actually did.
Nice.
I upgraded my wife's PC with it, and she's very, very happy with it.
Very cool. All right. We do have some beer news this week.
Yes, we have some. A little bit.
Let's see. Starting with Bud Light. John.
John put this on there, didn't he?
Yeah. John handles most of our beer news. He's the one who finds it. He's the one who's usually reading it. If I find something, it's usually already posted on our notes, and it's like, okay, we'll talk about that. Could you stop doing Bud Light news? Just for me personally. Yeah. Anyway, Bud Light is coming out with a holiday-themed variety pack of 3 all-new seltzer flavors.
Yeah.
Called the Ugly Sweater Pack. Yeah.
And the flavors are apple crisp, cranberry, which those two don't sound too bad, but peppermint patty.
Yeah. Ginger snap, peppermint patty, and apple crisp.
Yeah.
So ginger snap.
Ginger snap. I missed ginger snap. Yeah.
Ginger snap, I might be on board with. I do like a good ginger ale. That kind of thing.
Yeah, that could be okay.
Get me a Moscow Mule. I doubt it's going to be like that, but whatever. It'll probably be like shortbread cookie with ricey aftertaste.
Right. Yep.
But yeah, peppermint patty.
I don't know about that. I have a strong repulsion to artificial chocolate flavor, like Tootsie Rolls and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I just don't like that.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of artificial chocolate. I'm not a fan of... I love mint. I mean, don't get me wrong. I freaking love mint.
I don't know if I want a seltzered mint drink, though.
Well, I do love me a good...
mint julep?
There's mint julep, but no, drawing a blank.
I don't know.
Help
I
me
don't
out.
know.
What's the other mint drink?
There's other mint drinks.
Oh, just mojito. Just mojito.
Oh, mojito.
Yeah.
Mojito. Yes, mojitos
Yeah.
are good.
Love mojitos.
Yeah, but mojitos. I guess it doesn't have a super strong.
Oh, the way
mint
I make
flavor.
them, it does.
Oh, does it really?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
In fact, we grow mint in my garden now, so I can go
Yes, we
outside,
do
pick
too.
some fresh mint, and
That's what we do too. Whenever we do, like in the summer times, we'll make mojitos, or mint juleps or something like that, and we'll just go outside and pick some mint and bring it back in as fresh mint. I feel like peppermint patty would be like a watered down peppermint schnapps. I don't even like peppermint schnapps that much.
Yeah.
In like hot cocoa or something like that, it's okay. But like there's not much peppermint schnapps goes with. Most of it tastes like super sweet toothpaste.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I had to respond to something real quick. But yeah, I'm not a fan of mint done wrong.
Yes.
And there's a lot of ways to do mint wrong.
Oh yeah.
And I think putting mint in a Bud Light with a Tootsie Roll that it's been aged with,
Yeah,
I think that's probably going to be doing mint
That's
wrong.
gonna be good. That's gonna be good. I did have one time a local brewery, Oregon City Brewing. They had a mint porter one time, and they were going for the chocolate mint flavor, right?
Right.
But they way overdid it with the mint flavor. It was like almost undrinkable.
Yeah.
That was too minty. In fact, they even warned me. It's like, oh, you guys have a chocolate mint porter. That's pretty good. And she's like, I just want to warn you now. This is like an experiment, and it's like, do you like toothpaste? I'm like,
Do you like
brush
mint?
my teeth.
Well, yeah. No, I said, do you like mint?
It's a little heavy on the mint.
Right.
It was really, really, really heavy on the mint.
Yeah.
And
That's funny. All right. In slightly more local news, Deschutes Brewery, great local brewer over here in Bend, Oregon. They are coming out with a Black Butte whiskey.
Yeah.
One of their more well-known beers is the Black Butte Porter, and it's quite honestly a number of people's gateway into darker beers and especially craft beers.
Oh yeah, it was mine actually.
Right.
Black Butte Porter was the beer that, because before I had craft beer, I just, I'm like, oh, Budweiser is disgusting.
Right.
And I still think it's pretty disgusting, although I find it a little more tolerable now.
Nope.
But a little more. I didn't say a lot. I said a little more.
Nope.
But like, I'm like, someone gave me a Black Butte Porter, and then I go, what is this? And they go, this is a beer. And I was like, oh, this doesn't look like any beer I've ever had.
Right. What's that color?
They're like, yeah,
I'm not used to that. Right.
Like, wow, this is actually good. This is delicious. This is like malty and sweet and chocolatey a little bit. And it was a Black Butte Porter.
Yep.
And I even still now, I think I haven't had a Black Butte Porter in a long time, but I think a couple months ago I had it again, and I'm like, you know what? I still like this. This is still a really solid beer.
Solid beer. It's not the best porter I've ever had.
No.
It's not the best dark beer I've ever had. But as far as you can grab one out of the fridge and you will enjoy it, it's just good.
Of course. Yeah.
It's just one of those.
Yeah.
That there's a number of beers, especially here in Oregon, that are just that way. There's like I said, the Rogue 10 hop is a phenomenal beer. Now it's a complex IPA, but it's just anytime I see it on a menu, if I'm even hesitating anything else, I grab that.
Oh yeah, like a fresh squeeze from Deschutes.
Deschutes fresh squeezed
is like a solid IPA.
Yep.
It's not the best IPA, mind blowing, but I can sit there and it's very balanced, where it's not overwhelming with the bitterness and the hop. It's not aggressive. It's just got enough sweet malt flavor that I can have like a couple pints of it and be fine.
Right. So yeah. But anyway, they're coming out with a Black Butte inspired malt whiskey. This is a 5-year aged whiskey. And it is a malt whiskey, so it is going to be mostly malt forward. It's not a bourbon. So I'm looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to seeing this pop up.
I'll probably buy a bottle myself and just give it a shot. Either that, or I'll just have John buy it and then I'll go to his house and drink it all.
Right. Eventually, I'll have guests over and we can partake in my bar again.
Eventually, yes. No, that's one of the things I liked whenever I was in studio. Is like afterwards, I'd be like, "Oh,
what's this?
What new whiskey? What new bourbons and whiskey did Jeff get this time that I can sample?"
Now, I will say that was full-time employed, Jeff.
Yes, that was full-time employed. Jeff.
I don't buy a bottle each week anymore.
Oh, okay.
Well, actually, no, you were still over once a month, and I guess once a month I'll still have a bottle of something new. I don't go through it that quickly, so.
No, it was never like, a whole giant shelf of new things I ever tried. It's like one or two new things usually.
Although I will say, I didn't go to the liquor store for the first 7 months of this year.
Oh, really?
Like my last trip was, I think, November of last year, and then we were moving in December, so I never went. It's like, why do I want to buy a bottle to pack it in a day?
Yeah,
it's like, that's stupid. And my liquor cabinet to move took 4.5 boxes anyway. We got it moved and got it all set up, and then I'm like, well, I've got plenty here on my shelves. I'll just drink that. And obviously we were gone at CES the first part of the year, and then got back in February. And it's like, I'm still fully stocked. And then March hit, and I
couldn't go anywhere.
Didn't buy anything. And it wasn't until July maybe that I went out and bought stuff. And that was just to like replenish. Like, I'm out of Seagrams, I'm out of Bacardi White, I'm out of like,
just the basics.
I need some staples again, because I can't even make drinks right now. And it's gotten back up there. I've got a decent stock right now. So we were actually talking about the Crater Lake Gin before the show. So
same company.
Yep.
Yeah, they do some Pacific Northwest gins are really interesting.
Yes.
Like I've seen some not traditional botanicals in their gin.
Right. One of my favorites, I know we're getting a little off track here, but that's fine. We don't have a lot of stories left to talk about. One of my favorite gins that I've found locally is out of Corvallis from Vivacity. Mm-hmm. They have an Oregon gin. So they make a couple of different gins, but they have one specifically that's just the Oregon gin. And oh man, when you drink that, you know the smell when you're over in Bend?
Yes.
There's a smell.
Just like there's fresh pine.
When you drink it, you're in
like
Bend.
Yeah.
It smells like
you.
Eastern Oregon.
Nice.
It smells and tastes exactly like, and I know, a lot of gins have that sprucey, piney kind of thing going on anyway. And it's like, that's kind of what Eastern Oregon smells like. This one is, I'm in Eastern Oregon. Like, it just transports you. And so if anyone ever wants to know what the high desert in Oregon is like, I say, try this Vivacity gin, because it puts you right there. And in fact, I have a cocktail that I make out of that with that gin and Midori. And,
that would be good. Yeah.
So it's just a little, bar spoonful of, just a bar spoon of Midori. And then that gin, and I've got a couple other things. I wrote the recipe down, and I forget what it was, because I haven't had that gin in like 2 years.
Right.
But I call it the Origin for a cocktail name. I know it's punny, but it works. And that drink is like just quintessential Eastern Oregon to me.
Oh, yeah. Tanqueray gin, Tanqueray is good.
Yeah.
Although my favorite is Hendrix. Hendrix gin is excellent. Yes.
Yep.
As far as like that. Although I just had Rose City gin, which is another local.
Rose City's pretty good.
And it's cheap and it's pretty good. It's kind of lemony forward, I think. But
Rose City and Aviation are both local gins. Aviation's obviously a lot bigger company now. But Aviation is also a little bit more lemon forward, more than the botanicals. And then there's the complete opposite of that, where you have very much the spruce and juniper kind of forward flavors. I tend to lean more towards the botanicals and juniper and stuff like that.
I do too. Yeah, and then Hendrix I think just has a really great balanced good botanicals. Yeah,
some people go Tanqueray. I for that $20 to $25 bottle, I usually lean Sapphire, because again, it's just that's that more botanical leaning. Honestly, what I found for my house gin is Gordon's London Dry.
Yeah, you were telling me that.
It's a great mixer. It's not something that I'm just going to sit there and sip on, but for a gin cocktail, it's fantastic.
I prefer New Amsterdam.
Right. Oh yeah.
For my gin,
that's my other one. I kind of go tails one, heads the other.
Yeah.
So, but Gordon's Dry, I can put it in just about any gin cocktail, and it tastes right. Is it the best gin that I've ever had? No. But you can get a handle of it for $18.
Yes, it's cheap, and You always got to look for your best bang for the buck.
No.
You know, I always
that,
like trying.
That needs to be my next premium video for the Patreon is what is my $100 bar?
Oh, yeah.
That.
Oh, you know,
I've been wanting to do that video for a long time. I think that's my next video.
Me and my wife did this one time to try to make the cheapest Long Island iced tea from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
Not going with like, you know, the pint bottles, like the little bottles you get behind the desk or whatever. Right. Like an actual fifth, you know, but get as cheap as you can get. Right? What's the cheapest you can get? I think we got it down to like $25 or $30 or something like that to be able to make a Long Island iced tea, including like the 99-cent Cokes you get at Walmart or something like the Walmart Sam's Choice or something like that. And it wasn't a great Long Island iced tea.
I can imagine not.
I mean, it was drinkable
because the amount of liquors that you need to put into that.
Yes.
You got $25, including the Coke. Boy, you're looking at some $5 bottles.
There were a lot of $5 bottles. There was like, I think HRD might have been the vodka, which I think is like $5-6 or something like that.
Yeah.
The bottom of the shelf tequila, bottom of the shelf everything. You know, just bottom of the shelf as you can get. Yeah.
Someone says, by the way, I don't think it's been proved that Solarwinds was hacked by that old password. The malicious updates have been signed. Yes, and if you have access to the CA, or if you submit a patch and it automatically signs it by the CA, then there's no point in signing it by your CA. Yep. So it hasn't been proved that they logged in with X password, but they've been there since March. Sorry, I didn't say that earlier. They've been in the system since March, and it was just now revealed that, by the way, we were hacked back in March, and 18,000 of you have malicious software on your PCs right now. You might want to take care of that.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying they didn't log in with that password, but something also tells me maybe their certificate authority also had the password SolarWinds123.
SolarWinds123. Oh my gosh, that's like a password my 4-year-old would come up with.
Right? Yeah. So, but no, I think my next video, and I think I might film it this weekend or maybe early next week, is going to be either my 10 bottle bar or my 12 bottle bar, or what are my like go-to spirits that won't break the bank, that you can make anything with. Yeah. So, and
they'll be good, not like, you know,
and they'll be beyond serviceable. Right. Like something I actually enjoying even in a one spirit cocktail, you know. Yeah. An old fashioned, a Manhattan, you know, like something that I can drink myself and I'm not ashamed of serving my guests.
Yes. That
also don't break the bank, because you can get into high end spirits very easily. You can make a Manhattan that costs you $70 to produce. You can also make a Manhattan that costs you literally $13.
Yeah.
So,
and some of those high end whiskeys and everything like that, I feel in some cases they're diminishing returns.
Yes.
I mean, yes, the high end whiskey is obviously going to taste better than a low end whiskey, but when you start getting into those $100 bottles, I've had a few of them before, and they're good.
Right.
But I've also had some like $30, $40 bottles that are just as good. So
I tend to think $40 is the mark of diminishing returns for a whiskey, unless but extend that to 60 if you start going cask strength, barrel strength, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
$60 gets you some amazing barrel strength stuff.
Yes.
Once you get much beyond that,
there's a real shaky ground.
You've outshot the growth curve as far as what your money can get you.
Yeah.
But that's not to say that $100 whiskeys are not sometimes worth it, because oh my god, I've had a couple of killer $100 whiskeys, and then I've also had some where I go, I've had a $40 that's better. So I prefer so Michael just said I prefer mid shelf. I'm definitely solidly in the mid shelf, and I can also lean low shelf a lot of times. Like I said, 90% of the time when I'm making a cocktail for myself, I'm not reaching for my $40 bottle of redemption rye or my,
Yeah.
you know, whatever else I have here.
You save that for when you want a really good cocktail.
Right.
I don't mind, just I'll make a whiskey sour. I'll go for Seagram's whiskey or something like that. Because it makes a fine mixed drink.
Right.
It's nothing to be ashamed about.
Yeah. Seagram 7's my go-to whiskey in the house. I've said that a couple of times because it makes a pretty good old-fashioned and a pretty good Manhattan.
Yeah. Yeah, because like Buffalo Trace, I used to like Buffalo Trace quite a bit, but it got a little too expensive. So now I start going with the Seagram 7 because it's a little cheaper.
Yeah.
And it still does just as good.
Yep. Yeah, $60 is well beyond the point for mixing cocktails for straight sippers. My bottle of Pappy would disagree.
Pappy Van Winkle is it's very good. I've had it a couple times.
Yeah.
I with some of the prices though, I still don't know if it's quite worth it.
Right. But so a lot of people say, if you're spending more than $30 on a bottle to put in a cocktail, you're wasting your money. I wholeheartedly disagree, because holy crap, I can make some cocktails that will blow your mind that literally cost me $140 to put together just to buy the bottles to have them. But there is a diminishing return on those versus making them with the $18 to $20 bottles. Yeah. So I'll go over that some in my video. Like I said, this is a long practiced and long researched endeavor. I think that'll be a fun one. Anyway, so who was the organization that put this out? This one, Steve?
Oh, it's
FinTech. FinTech. I was trying to introduce the story and I forgot the research company that puts this out.
No, the company's called SmartAsset.
SmartAsset. Okay, so it's a financial tech company in New York.
Yes.
Anyway, they are not really known for like their alcoholic stuff or anything like that. They do financial research for tech companies and for Fortune 500s in New York. But since 2014, they have been putting out a top 10 best cities for beer drinkers.
Yes.
And their 2020 list just came out. And so I thought it'd be fun to have a look.
Yep.
So this is over on vinepair.com. And the top 10 cities were analyzed out of 384 largest cities in the U.S. And it was based on the total number of breweries in a city, followed by the number of breweries per 100,000 people, the average number of beers per brewery, and the number of bars per 100,000 people, and the average price point for a pint in those cities. Yep. And based on that, I'm going to throw this whole chart out the window right now because Cincinnati, Ohio ranked number 1.
Yeah, that seems weird, right?
I think the price per pint and bars per capita probably shot them to the top more than
probably what it was. Yeah.
Anything else happened there.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel that there'd be an issue getting a $3 pint in Cincinnati, Ohio.
I think there was something that they said in there that like St. Louis and stuff like in Cincinnati, their average was like $4 a pint.
Right.
So which is cheaper than our area.
Right.
But
in Portland, I'm not shocked to pay $9 at a bar. I'm not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now it's not $9 for a pint of Budweiser. It's $9 for, a
bourbon barrel aged something. Yeah.
Right. Or even $12 for that pint.
Yes.
Totally reasonable in my experience and in my goings out. But we do have some bars that are in the, $3 to $4 Budweiser, Bud Light specials and whatnot.
Yeah.
And if that's what you're after,
can still find them,
they're there. But they're not nearly as plentiful in Portland. And yet Portland still ranked number 4 on this list, as did Bend, ranking number 7.
Yeah. So we have 2 cities in Oregon that made the list.
Right.
And Bend actually is, for being a smaller town, is a very beer-friendly town.
It's a phenomenal town for beer. There's only 75,000 people in Bend.
Yeah.
So Bend had this huge explosion at the beginning of the 2000s with the .com industry and everything else. And then they also got bit by the .com bomb, and they peaked at like 90,000 people, and then all of a sudden they're down to like 75. And so the last 10 years have not been all that kind to them.
Yeah.
But one of the industries that is growing over there has been the craft brewing industry, and that's another thing that brought a lot of people out to that area.
Yeah.
And gosh, I'm trying to think what my top 10 list of breweries in Bend is.
Crux for sure is like number one.
Crux is up there.
Crux has to be.
Even 10 Barrel is really good.
10 Barrel's very good.
You've got Deschutes. You've got
Boneyard.
Boneyard.
Excellent. Yeah.
What's the the one who makes Nut Crusher, the peanut butter.
Oh
porter.
no, those guys aren't in Wild Ride. They're not.
They're in Redmond.
They're in Redmond. Yeah,
but we'll call that Bend.
Yeah.
they're 6 miles apart. You can drive from one to the other without realizing it. We're gonna call that Bend.
Yeah.
But no, Wild Ride is over there. There's so many good breweries over in Bend.
There is.
So John and I talked about this almost 2 years ago when the Chico, California fires hit and Sierra Nevada did the pale ale Resurrection Pale or whatever the pale ale was with
the special pale ale.
Yeah. So we talked about going to a bunch of different breweries in Oregon and doing like this giant circle and picking up a 6-pack from each brewery, just and kind of like documenting the trip. Well, we were getting down to like, okay, how do we plan this trip and where do we go? And we were thinking starting in Eugene and then going over to the coast, hitting Rogue, going up to Astoria, hitting Fort George, going to Portland, and then coming back south. And it's like, but we have to go to Bend. And I went, yeah, but Bend's a trip on its own because there's 14 breweries in Bend that are doing this beer.
Yeah, no, I know. Me and my wife did the Bend Ale Trail.
Yeah,
which is a thing where they'll give you like a stamp, and you got to go through all the breweries in Bend, and you get a stamp. And I think if you complete it all, you get like a pint glass or something like that. So we did that.
I've never done the Ale Trail, but
we did that in a weekend.
Yeah. Oh wow.
it was.
See, that's why I was about to say that's why I've never done the Ale Trail. Is I've been to all the breweries on the Ale Trail.
Yeah.
But I've never done it while I was thinking about grabbing the stamp for your chart and everything else.
Yeah.
Let alone been there long enough to like do it over a week, let alone a weekend.
No, it was oh man, it was a bit of a slog, let me tell you, because there's a lot of breweries down there. I think there's more now because when we did it, I think there's been at least 4 more breweries that popped up since then. So
Bend, Oregon, the Colorado of Oregon.
Yeah,
you're not wrong.
Pretty much.
There's skiing, there's beer, there's tech companies, and that's about it.
So my brother moved to Denver, and we just went earlier this year to visit. And I was super excited because I wanted to go to because Denver's got like a lot of breweries too. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to go to like the obscure ones that I've never heard of, the local ones that that people in Denver like. So we went to a couple of them that were rated high, and I was not that impressed, really.
Yeah.
I mean, there was 1 or 2 breweries that were there that were pretty good. Mm-hmm. That were I brought back a crowler of a couple of the things that I thought they were good.
Yeah.
But for the most part, man, it was not like Bend. You go to Bend, and there's like just about every other brewery you go to there. It's either good to great. It's like it's either good to great.
Yeah.
There are a few that, they're not that, but just about every single one there. But the one in Denver that I went to, most of them were just like either just mediocre, just straight mediocre. Yeah. That's all it was.
So we had a video at CES that never made publication. We tried to record it and then we kind of ran out of time to make it a full video. Steve and I, in our off time, we were going to try to go to a bunch of the breweries around Vegas, and we made to 4 of them. Yes. And we crossed off all the ones that were 3 stars or less. We went 4 stars or 5 stars in reviews.
Yeah.
And let's see if we can hit some of these. And so the first one we hit was, what was that, Sunday morning at 9:30?
Yes, we were the first ones there. There was nobody else in the place.
Right. So that was fun. But one of the earliest beers I've ever had, let alone at a bar.
Yeah.
But we walk in, and that one was okay.
It was okay.
It wasn't anything like tremendous.
What was it? It was like Teton Brewing or something like that?
Yeah, that was Teton, I think.
Yeah.
And really nice bar. Like,
it was
beautiful inside.
Yeah.
And they had this giant floor-to-ceiling glass window where you can look into the brewery and whatnot. Like, it was a class place. And the beer was, I would say pretty good.
That's okay. Yeah.
From what we tried, Steve and I both had a flight, each of different things, and because we didn't know about COVID yet, we were sharing. So, yeah. So, but we tried 10 beers there, I think, and overall, it's like 3 of them were not good.
Yeah.
And then the rest of them were like okay to like one good one.
There was one that I thought was really
like cream,
good.
cream above all the rest, right?
Yeah.
We went to a couple others, and they were both forgettable. Like I don't even remember the other 2 that we went to.
Yeah, they were like there was some other one that was down the strip that was just like, that was stupid. That was dumb. Yeah.
Right. And then we met up with Jason, Bite My Bits, at what was the name of this one?
Abel Baker.
Thank you. Yeah. I always remember it starts with an A, but I can never remember the name because all I can think is Rubber Ducks, and I'm like, it's not duck
because they got the rubber ducks with the atomic symbol behind it. Yeah.
That brewery was phenomenal.
A good brewery. That was a really good one.
I put it up against anything that Oregon has as far as like quality pint to pint to pint.
Yes.
Because we did 3 flights plus a couple of pints there.
Everything was good.
Everything was good. There was not a loser in any of those glasses.
Their chocolate orange stout was phenomenally good.
Yeah,
it was super good. Yeah. I put it up there with like Great Notion,
right?
With like some of their pastry stouts and stuff like that. It was super good.
So coming from Oregon and finding a brewery like that, let alone on the Vegas Strip.
In Vegas. It wasn't technically on the Strip. It was
a mile north.
It was slightly behind the Stratosphere.
Right. Yeah. People say the Stratosphere is on the Strip, enough. So
no, it's you had to like drive like a block off the Strip.
Right.
Okay, it's a Strip adjacent.
Right. Strip adjacent. Yeah. But no, that brewery, Abel Baker, was fantastic.
It was fantastic. Anybody going to Vegas, I highly recommend Abel Baker.
Yep. No.
Very good.
All right, let's hit the top 10 cities here real quick. So Cincinnati, Ohio, which I've not been to Ohio, but I'm going to sincerely disagree with because I don't think I've ever had a beer from Ohio. So I can't say the number of breweries around there.
Yeah.
But I've never heard of any breweries around there.
I did a quick Google search just to see breweries that were in Cincinnati. There was one that I recognized. That was Mad Tree.
Right. Okay.
But all the rest of them, I didn't recognize a single one.
Right. So best city, no, I think they won by bars per capita and price per
probably
pint.
Boosted them. Probably that's what boosted them.
Asheville, North Carolina. Same kind of thing. I know there's some really good breweries in the Carolinas.
Yeah.
But Asheville?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I know Raleigh has a number of good breweries. I know Charlotte has a number of good breweries. Although that's south. I don't know. Then there's St. Louis, Missouri, which obviously is the home of InBev. I wonder if they took scale of brewery into consideration.
It could be. I mean, it also could be because it's right there, readily available, cheap.
It could also be that in St. Louis, I think you have hot water, cold water Bud when you're installing your plumbing system in your house.
That's right. Doesn't matter. You could shower in it.
Right. So I think it's just another turn of the dial over there. Portland is fourth. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania is fifth, and that one I could definitely agree with.
I can see that one. Yeah.
Denver, Colorado, same kind of thing. They have some amazing breweries over in Denver.
Yeah.
Bend, Oregon. Can't argue that. Madison, Wisconsin. That one is. I know Wisconsin holds a lot of craft beer up in high esteem. I tried a lot of them. There's a lot of them.
Yes.
I will say. And not to crap on all of them because I haven't had all of them, but I just wasn't that impressed with a good number of the offerings over there. It's kind of like a good number of the offerings I've had from Kansas. I've had a couple of good beers from Kansas.
Yeah.
And I've had to wade through a lot of other stuff that just
garbage. Yeah.
No. Right.
Yeah.
Missoula, Montana. This one's kind of the wild
that
card.
Was a weird. Yeah. I mean, they could be like Bend or something like that, a small town that just has some good ones. But I don't know any breweries that are in Montana.
Right, and then
Missoula, Montana, Big Sky. That's the only one.
Right, and then knowing the water quality in Cleveland, I can only imagine what kind of slime they're churning out of there. So.
They're all sour ales, just because they just all naturally turn sour no matter what they make.
Yeah. Let's see. When will craft computing be a brewery? I am more likely to be a distillery first. because that's what I relate to. And I've said this a number of times on the show. I'm more a spirit and liquor and cocktail guy than I am a beer guy. But I can find more craft beers to talk about, and it can be more of an object and permanent prop on the channel than a cocktail can. Because, number one, it's a lot cheaper to buy a $4 craft beer and open that on every show than it is to mix a new cocktail every show.
Right. And plus, you can also find a wide variety of interesting things to drink and talk about. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to sit there on camera mixing up a fancy drink every single time either. I've
had 90 stouts-ish on craft computing, probably. And only 2 or 3 of them were the same. And I can talk differently about each of them. I can, whereas how many different ways do you want me to make an old-fashioned? How many different ways could be? Because I'm also very much a Prohibition to 50s era cocktail drinker.
Yeah.
I love a lot of the classically made cocktails. And that's kind of where I go like Prohibition era, give it to me old fashioned, like 1890s to 1930s for like whiskey cocktails. Yeah. And then up to tiki era for the rest.
Yeah.
And that's my wheelhouse. That's what I love. That's what I drink all the time. That's what I make myself at home. But I'm more likely to make a distillery than I am a craft brewery. That being said, I've discussed the possibilities of opening a craft brewery.
Yeah, I mean, me and John brew our own beer and cider and stuff like that. So it's not like we don't have equipment or anything like that. We could.
At one point, I heard of a chain of growler stations in Salem that was for sale. They had 3 locations, and I inquired about it.
Oh yeah, was that Growl Movement?
Yes. Yep. They had some growler stations for sale. There were 3 locations with retail. One of the locations, they only use like a quarter of their retail space. So there's like all this space, and I'm like, well, that could be a studio in the back.
Yeah, there you go.
I could, open up a couple of stills or a couple of brewers and have a couple of large tanks and film in the other half of it and have a retail establishment in the other and work the register at day and shoot at night, and it could be a thing. I totally had like a business plan starting to be mapped out for it. I'm not saying it won't happen, but at the moment it's not in the cards. So. Yeah.
Plus, also all the beers that me and John make aren't that great.
Yeah.
To be honest, there's a few times that I've made some really good ones, but.
Cosworth says Jeff, after his cloud gaming project, is definitely more of a liquor guy.
Yeah, no doubt.
How much scotch did I drink during that project?
Oh man.
It's I know well enough, and I know enough people who have ventured out into their own as far as self-employment and self-entrepreneur. I know not to put all my eggs in one basket. At the moment, my eggs are in 2 baskets, and that's still not enough for me. I want more than that one basket. Mm-hmm. And so eventually I'm going to venture out into another area, probably completely unrelated to what I do here, whether it be craft beer or opening a distillery or buying a facility of some kind and investing in that, or going into something else, going into real estate and doing that on the side, or whatever,
miniature equine breeding.
Right. I will do something else.
Pygmy horse breeding.
Right. I will eventually be doing something else alongside craft computing that is not craft computing, because I want to make sure that I'm successful. But I'm also a very cautious person. So.
All right. I'm going to have my German beer.
All right.
The Wessenstaffer. Wessenstaffer.
Merchandising. Merchandising is also on the table, but here's the deal with merchandising. Merchandising the craft computing brand still relies on YouTube for a monetary source. So I can put out as much merchandise as I want, but if no one can see the videos anymore, or YouTube all of a sudden decides they're gonna,
take a big chunk out of it,
throw a coup and eliminate alcohol channels from their show.
Yeah.
Now, number one, I'd probably have to change the name of my channel. Number two, I'd have to rebrand everything entirely and get rid of the shtick. Which I could. My tech, the reason my channel is successful is the tech holds up on its own. And then there's other areas of interest that people are interested in watching me for. So people like the beer reviews at the end of the videos. I actually get complaints when they're not there. However, the analytics for YouTube say you watch to the out credits and then only about 12 to 15% of you watch the beer review. However, the 12 to 15% is a big reason my videos do well, because you all click on the notifications as soon as they come in. And so the beer helped me form a core audience, which helped get me more views, which helps get me a more general audience. And so it was all part of the marketing plan when I was thinking about how to do this. But yeah, long way to say maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, the original merchandising question. Yes, merchandising is on the table. In fact, craftcomputing.store will be coming sometime in the early 2020s. Stay tuned. Second channel. Yeah, but then I have to build a second channel. And will the second channel get clicks? That's not an instant revenue source or a repeatable revenue source, but that also doubles my production schedule. I would rather invest more into Patreon and Floatplane than I would into a second channel, where it's a guaranteed revenue source. I'm guaranteed to get those clicks, and I don't have to worry about the clicks, because the 10 or 12 or 13 or 14 or 15% of people who want to watch that extra content is going to pay to watch that content. Just pay directly, and I don't have to worry about who watched it and who didn't. And, oh, is it trending? Did it get to the... I can just make content that I like, and if you like it too, you'll pay the extra money to watch it. And so that's one business plan. Anyway, I am opening the Stout from Zipline Brewing, and I'm going to be blasphemous and reuse my sour glass.
Yeah, someone says Vitas is probably the best Weizenbock ever. It's a very, very good Weizenbock. Mm-hmm. It is absolutely delicious.
Yes.
There's not too far from where I live, there's a Bavarian town where they have a pretty big Oktoberfest over there. Mm-hmm. And there's quite a few stores over there that sell a good number of German beers.
The head on this beer was so thick, I had liquid floating on top of it. I had droplets.
Really?
Like, yeah. That took me for a number. I've only seen that a couple of other times.
Wow.
It was like Leidenfrost effect, where the bubbles were floating on top of...
So top heavy that the liquid...
The liquid was not falling through the foam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was cool.
Because it smells great, huh?
This may give the 2020 Bourbon County a run for its money, just based off the nose. Because that was a 14.6. This is a 13.8, so it's just as boozy. It's just as bourbony.
Might be a little sweeter.
Boy, there's some chocolate already on there. Here we go.
Sounds good. Terrible.
Oh, that's awful.
Well, you're not spitting it out, so.
Oh, just awful. Lead and Iron. Jeff, I actually create merch. Depending on what you're looking to do, maybe I can come in for cheaper. Definitely give me a ring. Look up my contact info for the contact me or about page on my channel. Or just DM me through Twitter. That's probably the best way to get a hold of me. My DMs are open. So hit me up through Twitter. Let me know who you are, and I'll definitely talk, because I've got some merch ideas, but I'm looking for a couple of very specific things. So let me know.
He's looking for inflatable Jeff dolls. For snuggling.
No, I think I would sell an inflatable Jason doll. That way you all can F him.
He'd probably buy it.
I know Spoon would buy him.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. True Rex. I bought an HPE DL325 AMD EPYC server 3 months ago, and the motherboard is already having issues. Okay. Was there a question there? Sorry.
Oops.
Big Spoon, do you have an OnlyFans? No, although I'm considering opening an OnlyFans account and posting all of the pictures of fans that I get.
Yes.
And that's it. So, yeah, subscribe to my OnlyFans to see, hot 40mm Noctuas. Mm-hmm. If you're a fan of the micros, some people are, some people aren't.
Yeah. Most people like the big fans.
Mm-hmm.
Tiny fans are acquired taste.
I've got a couple of 200s that'll, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. I will say the Bourbon County is a hair sweeter.
Oh, really?
It's
you
a
would
hair
think that. Yeah, maybe they just used more malt or something. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, that's one thing that I said when I was drinking that last week. Was number one, it's delicious. But number two, it reminds me of the very savory, like the 2017 standard. Where it was just super smooth, super savory, absolutely no booze to it at all. Even at 14.6, it was a dangerous, dangerous stout. This one, it's still deliciously smooth.
Yeah,
but you're still drinking a 13.8. Like, so you know it's
you can
there.
taste you got a boozy back end.
It's a much boozier back end than the Bourbon County was. Very similar flavor profile overall. It's that chocolate, that roasty, the deep coffee roast. Definitely a very pronounced bourbon on it. But yeah, it's just a little bit more of a boozy kick at the end.
Does it say,
which I do like.
Does it say on the bottle who they did the bourbon barrel with? Was it a particular brand, or it
does
say?
Not.
I know some places do and some places don't.
Yeah, this one does not. So.
Yeah, okay.
It's probably an MGB.
Yeah, it's.
Yep. More a fan of 120s. Yeah, some people,
Yeah.
Once you go 140, it's hard to go back, though.
Yeah.
Only fans for only for PWM and the occasional Rambo tease.
Yeah.
You got to get the cat in there every once in a while.
Of course. I'm saying. Of course.
Yeah. You got to get the fans what they want.
Yep.
All right. Let's move on to a little bit of entertainment news.
Sure.
And this one came at a little bit of a surprise.
Yeah.
So, of all of the sci-fi flicks, not flicks, but TV shows and series that you can think of, there is one fan base that feels more jilted than all the rest.
Oh, yes, definitely.
And every sci-fi fan base gets jilted at some point.
Right.
Whether it was Star Trek Enterprise has a stupid theme song, and now it's like, well, now that's like the best theme song. Now that you look back at it 15 years later, you know, Enterprise is not my Star Trek. Discovery is not my Star Trek. Picard is not my Star Trek. What are they doing with Lower Decks? There's Stargate. What the hell was Atlantis? You know, there's all kinds of different.
There's some people that they're just jaded about.
They're just never happy, and you know, they're Star Wars fans who only like the first 3 Star Wars that came out, and they're like, what the heck was the prequel and the sequel movies? Well, you can still be a fan of the first and call yourself a Star Wars fan, and not get vitriolic about the rest. Like, it's okay. But there's one fan base in particular that always gets the most fired up about being the most persecuted, about being the most unfair. And
I wouldn't necessarily say the most persecuted, but I would say the most jilted.
The most jilted. Let's go back to my original adjective there. The most jilted because they feel they got screwed the most.
Of course. And
that is probably Joss Whedon's Firefly.
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, Firefly had a very short run. Life.
Yeah. One season. I don't think it was a full season.
It was one and done. I think it was a full season, but it left on a cliffhanger, and they're like, "Oh, I can't wait till season 2."
Nope. And part of it, I mean,
neither can we.
people who were in the know, Fox kind of did screw them over.
Yeah. I forgot about Universe. Yeah, no, yeah. The heck with Atlantis. What the heck was Universe?
Oh, jeez. I know people say it's an amazing series, but it was one season. Mm-hmm. It might have been a mini series because, well, it was a mini series and a movie. And a lot of people didn't like the movie because it killed off some characters.
Right.
People didn't like that. So spoilers, but
right. Well, if you haven't seen it by now, don't start it because you're going to be ticked.
Yeah, I know.
But Disney has announced that, or not announced, but reportedly, they are in talks to bring back a reboot of Firefly. What that will look like, we don't know. Who will be leading it? We don't know. Who are they casting? We don't know.
Don't know.
I don't know if you can afford Alan Tudyk anymore.
No. Nathan Fillion's got some more clout now too, so
right. Like the main actors in this, I don't think you're going to get them at TV sitcom prices anymore.
No, not anymore.
Although,
I mean, it could be like they did say it's going to be a reboot, so they may put new characters in there.
right, it might be a reboot in the same universe. I don't know if the Firefly community would even watch at that point.
Yeah.
But if you look at where, I think there's going to be a lot of things that might lead Disney to opening their checkbooks a little bit more. Number one, you need to compete with Apple right now. And Apple's landing Steve Carell, Reese Witherspoon, Jennifer Aniston for one TV show, with Good Morning, or what, the morning show, whatever that one is.
Yeah, but that's not a guarantee it's going to be good, though.
It's not a guarantee it's going to be good, but Apple is opening their checkbooks.
Right. Yeah.
And
they're getting some big star power.
Right. And Disney, you have checkbooks. You can open them. Like if someone's going to compete, it's probably going to be Disney. I don't even know if it's going to be NBC with their Comcast money.
Well, I mean, Disney already announced like a giant slew of new Star Wars
6
series.
Star Wars series.
Yes, and
including Obi-Wan, with the return of
Darth Maul.
Ewan McGregor, Darth Maul, and Hayden Christensen. They're all reprising their roles.
Yeah.
Holy crap, yes.
Ray Park, I think it's Ray Park was Darth Maul.
So yeah, they're, Disney's already throwing down, movie level money for Obi-Wan, for that series to come out. Maybe they're willing to throw out, Nathan Fillion, however you say his name, and Alan Tudyk, however you see, Fillion, and Alan Tudyk, however you say his name. And Tudyk's already been in the Star Trek or Star Wars universe. He was the robot from Rogue One.
Yeah,
that was Alan Tudyk, right? And so, they've already got his number.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what happens. But I think this could be a really good thing.
I don't know. I think Alan Tudyk is still kind of a character actor. I haven't seen anything where he is the helm.
He's never been the headliner, but man, he's in everything.
He is in everything, and I like most of the stuff he's in. Mm-hmm. But he hasn't headlined anything that has really taken off.
Mm-hmm. K2SO, thank you.
Yeah.
K2SO, the robot.
K2SO, yeah.
Sorry, the droid. Yeah. The probability of successfully, don't tell me the odds. It's high. Love him as K2SO. He's just snappy. But yeah, Alan Tudyk has been in everything. I think the first movie I ever saw him in was A Knight's Tale, Heath Ledger.
Was he in that?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, he was one of the squires.
Okay.
Yeah, and he was fantastic in that. Along with oh gosh, who's his name? That's in Solo. He's the bad guy in Solo. The other guy played Geoffrey Chaucer. Historian, writer, etc.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that guy. I don't remember his name.
Yeah,
though.
They were all in that. If you have not watched A Knight's Tale, oh my gosh,
No, I've watched it, but it's been forever.
Right. No, I was just going to say to the audience in general, if you've never watched A Knight's Tale, go watch A Knight's Tale, because holy crap, it's great. And there's a lot of, Heath Ledger, is the star of the show, and it's Heath Ledger at his peak. But man, it's just a good ride. Alan Tudyk in Death of a Funeral is phenomenal. Yeah, I've seen him in that.
Death in a Funeral is good. I was trying to find. There's another one that I really liked him in another movie.
He's done so many voice actors too.
He's done that too. Gosh.
Where you go, holy crap, that was Alan Tudyk, right?
No, he was in something versus something versus evil. What was it? Gosh, I can't remember it. I'm looking on IMDb right now. And I can't
Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Yes, there it is. Tucker and Dale versus Evil. Did you ever watch that one?
I have not seen that one, actually.
That is an excellent movie. It's really great. Yeah.
Alan Tudyk was Sonny, iRobot.
Oh, was he?
He was the live actor and voice of Sonny for iRobot.
For iRobot, really?
Yep.
Okay.
Like I said, he's done a bunch of live action stuff where you would never imagine he's in the movie because his face isn't in the movie. But right. He was K2SO in Rogue One. Mm-hmm. He was voices in Wreck-It Ralph. He was in Moana. He was in Dodgeball. He was the pirate.
I remember him being in Dodgeball. Yes.
Yeah. Serenity, 28 Days, Zootopia, Big Hero 6. So he's already well on Disney's payroll.
Yeah, he's got a lot in there already.
Right. Oh yeah, he was in Ice Age. He was the voice of was he Sid in Ice Age? Gosh, who did he voice in Ice Age? As Lenny.
Lenny. I don't remember that one.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. He was in Doom Patrol too, the first season of Doom Patrol.
Yeah. So like I said,
he was Mr. Nobody, yeah.
Yeah, so like I said, he does a lot of voice acting, and it's hard to pick him out and like, that was a bad role. No, like they've all been great. He's never headlined, but oh man, he's just great. Anyway, I don't know how we got off on a I Love Alan Tudyk fan club there, but
yeah.
But I do.
I know. He's like one of those character actors that he does a really good job in everything he's pretty much in.
Yep. Deadpool, the best rom-com ever. Couldn't agree more. I told you this was a love story.
Yeah.
You know the beer's good when it just evokes vocal responses that are completely
like,
just
Yeah, this one
hits your tongue and just
This one's very good too.
Paul Bettany, don't get me started on Paul Bettany because he's great too. Yeah. Anyway, let's get into
Clint Howard.
Yeah.
Clint Howard, try the Tranya.
I don't trust people who don't trust Alan Tudyk. Let's get into probably the dominant PC and gaming story of the week, which has got to be Cyberpunk. And we'll probably spend the rest of the show on Cyberpunk. Mm-hmm. So if you're not a fan, I'm going to do this completely spoiler free. So don't worry about ruining the story or anything like that if you haven't played it. Let's just talk about the launch itself, what my impression is, because I'm about 30 hours into it. And I'll just give impressions. I won't, like I said, give any of the story away. And also the backlash that has been coming from what a lot of people see as a poor release, what a lot of people see as a good release. Is there a little bit of a hive mind going on? What's going on? So before I get started, I'm going to let the cat out real quick. So
let Rambo go?
Yeah.
Let my Rambo go.
So actually, if there's anything you can talk about for like another 2 minutes, let me know.
It's going to take you 2 minutes to let the cat out? My goodness. That cat is really hard to catch, I guess.
Well, I had an lttstork.com problem before the show.
I see.
So
I'm
going to go
I got you.
I'm going to go let the cat out of the office real quick.
Oh, gotcha. I got you.
Which he does need out of the office. So
all right.
The show's yours for like 2 minutes.
I can talk a little bit about Cyberpunk. I actually did not pick it up yet because I'm waiting for the availability for RTX cards to become purchasable, so I can get my 3080 RTX card, and then I'll purchase Cyberpunk at that point because I want to experience it at the highest resolution possible that I can muster and the best detail because it looks phenomenal. I think the biggest part of the news that's coming out is that it's a horrible, horrible console release. I've watched the Digital Foundry videos about it. It was looked like it was smeared in Vaseline. I don't know if anybody else has seen it, but it was it was like a slog, blurry mess on the PS4 and on the Xbox. It was just as bad too. I think it's running at almost 720. I think is what the resolution it's running at. I think they even mentioned that it looked like a Switch port, that it was that bad. So that's kind of why, and it also crashes constantly. It's just the physical demand of this game for last generation consoles is just absolutely horrendous. But on the PS5 and the Microsoft X Series Xbox, apparently it runs pretty good. It does a solid 60 frames a second on the PS5, and it has some really nice visuals on the Xbox, but it runs, I think, at a more 30 frames per second. So if you want to play it on the console, I would recommend getting an next-gen system. If you are going to play it on your last-gen system, I would recommend not doing that because it is a garbage port from what I understand.
Which one?
I was just talking about the ports, the different ports.
Yeah.
Specifically the console ones, playing it on the PS4 and the last-gen Xbox.
There we go. Yeah.
It's a horrible slog of a mess.
Yes, that's what
runs better on the next generation ones. I mean, it's still the same. They're using backwards compatibility to make it work, but just with the increased horsepower of the newer consoles, they run a lot better.
Yes,
with less problems.
So just to let everyone know, the cat is very relieved to be out of the room. So there we go. Anyway,
we all want to know what the cat's feelings are.
Yes. Just in case you had questions about what Rambo was going through, he's very relieved to be out of the room now. Anyway, so getting into Cyberpunk, I don't know how much you already covered, but
I just talked about the different ports.
Yeah. So, like I said, I'm about 30 hours into it. I'm on a 2070 Super and a 10850K. That's the PC I'm on right now, and this is also my gaming rig. At ultra settings, oh boy, does it struggle. Like dips into the teens struggle.
And you're running at what resolution?
1440.
Okay, 1440. Okay.
1440, ultra settings, ray tracing on. Even with DLSS at ultra settings, oh boy, does it struggle.
Yeah.
However, what I found is most of the problem comes in the shadow rendering. So I don't know what they're trying to do with shadows that are taking all the resources, because ray tracing should be doing that in and of itself.
In itself, yeah.
But it's not. By reducing the shadow resolution to like medium or even low, the game runs at like 75 locked. Like it's a great experience at 1440p. And like I said, that's on a 2070 Super. Now that's obviously a fairly expensive graphics card. Not a lot of people have that kind of power, but I'm getting great results. I have not had the game crash on me once. Never to the desktop. I did get a crash error one time when I quit the game, where I saved my game, exit to menu, quit, and then once the window closed, it said Cyberpunk 2077 has flatlined. And okay. I started the game back up.
You were
my
exiting
save file
anyways.
was there. Like that's the only. I've had one crash other than that, and I had an autosave 2 minutes earlier, so it's like, woohoo.
Whatever. Yeah.
Right? Who cares? I have to walk another 2 blocks. Oh no. But it has been fantastic as far as performance goes, as far as immersion and everything else.
Yeah.
Is it buggy? Yes. It's an open world, massive game with thousands of scripts operating at a time, pedestrians and NPCs that have to do various things, objects that have to be in various places. I have had some bugs where cigarettes would get stuck in midair. So one of the first ones that I noticed was someone that I was talking to was smoking a cigarette. And they're waving the cigarette around and they're talking, and then they come back to their neutral waiting position, and the cigarette is kind of smoking right there. And then they're going off and they're talking again, and the smoke is still coming from right here. So the smoke didn't follow the cigarette. Yeah. Like I saw that one. I saw another one where I was having conversation and a cigarette got stuck in midair. So there's like this little stick just like in between us.
They probably have one guy dedicated to just making sure cigarettes are animated correctly.
And so there's been bugs like that. There's been a couple of missing animations, or a couple of issues of NPCs that I'm working with that are doing pre-scripted animations. Like walking into an elevator. They'll walk into the elevator before the door opens, then the door opens and they're still standing there. It's like, okay. That happens.
Yeah.
It happens. It happens all the time. GTA 5 is not... Well, GTA 5 is the gold standard for an open world game coming out and being fully playable. And having really no bugs to speak of that are like game-breaking or animation-breaking bugs. There's some...
There's some, but I mean, to be fair, by the time it came to PC and by the time I played it,
It was already 3 years old.
it was 3 years old. Yeah,
Right.
it had went through the previous generation consoles and the next generation
Right.
consoles, and then it came out for PC.
Right. It was already ironed.
They had already ironed out all those bugs already.
Right.
So,
and I've played a lot of release day games in my time, and no open world game on release day or release month are fully polished. They're not.
Course.
There's going to be bugs. Because you can.
Skyrim still has bugs, and it's like what,
8
years old now, 7 years old now.
We forgive all of Skyrim's issues, but you know, it's kind of my point. Is some of the clips that I've seen online are funny. They're very funny. They're pedestrians walking across the street with no animation. They're just like gliding. There's another one that's hilarious where the pedestrian scripting is broken, and so there's like a group of like 6 or 7 pedestrians where they're walking across a crosswalk and then they stop and then walk back the other direction. And so they're back and forth. And so they're just walking back and forth between those 2 points, and he follows them for like 6 minutes or something like that, just like walking all around them and doing different things, bumping into them and whatnot. And then he fires his gun up in the air, and they're supposed to run and cower. And like 2 of them run out of the crosswalk. The other 4 stay in the crosswalk and run and cower back and forth in the crosswalk. So that now they're just crossing the street faster.
Yeah.
And so, yes, there's bugs. And there's, number 1, I haven't hit anything story breaking. Number 2, I haven't had anything. There's been a couple of like immersion breaking where it's like, oh, now I'm watching something that's a little bit glitchy. Cool.
Right.
I've had the mouth animations fail to load a couple of times for different characters.
Yes, I've seen that before.
Where I'm having a conversation and all of a sudden one line is not animated. Or I've had one character that just stopped animating their voice until I reloaded the save file. But that happens. And to me, those aren't big deals.
No.
They're not big deals at all.
In some cases, though, it's also something that makes the game almost a little endearing. That's what kind of happened to Skyrim, because there was a lot of, I wouldn't say game-breaking bugs.
Oh God, go back to
like
Oblivion or Morrowind and talk about
people
the
were like,
glitches and
they
bugs.
would get hit and they start go flying across the screen. It was funny.
Right.
It made for some viral videos, and it made for some good, bug glitchy compilations and stuff for a particular game. As long as it doesn't impede progress into the story, I think most people, as long as the game is good, it's got a good storyline and it's fun to play, people tend to forgive that type of thing.
Yeah. Right. And to me, this is one of the most beautiful open world games I have ever seen. Most beautiful games in general. Like, not talking about like the glitches, because you see them, they're there. They're not, in my play experience, all that prevalent. You see them and you just kind of get used to them. There's a couple of them there. But in general, this is probably the first game that I will stand here and say, this game needs RTX on. It absolutely does. And not for the reasons that they've been trying to tout RTX, but because RTX feels so natural in the world, and it feels really weird without it.
It makes it feel like more of an immersion.
It is so much more immersive, especially the way they did reflections. Where the thing is, people who have been trying to do like RTX on, RTX off, is just everything becomes a mirror surface, and so everything is reflective now. Like the brick wall I'm looking at is showing my reflection. That's not how brick works. That's not how water flowing down brick works. I don't know if you've ever seen bricks in real life, but that's not what they look like.
Bricks are matte. Even if you put like water over it, they don't become a nice sheen over the top of it.
Now the ground can certainly be varying levels of reflectivity, from not quite mirror to definitely not reflective at all, or just
puddles
reflecting
of water
like,
on the ground.
The reflections on the ground are breathtaking in Cyberpunk, especially when it's raining out. And the way it handles the light, the way it handles the shadows, and the reflections off objects that are supposed to be reflective and the objects that are not supposed to be reflective. It's great. The lighting in Cyberpunk and the overall immersion of that graphical fidelity I've never seen before, and it's something that if RTX was not on, and I did play it for a couple hours with RTX off just to go like, what's it like performance-wise? Oh, I can't
Right.
go back. No, I'll take the performance hit because
Yeah.
RTX, this
Does
game
make a difference, yeah.
deserves RTX.
That's one of the reasons why I'm kind of waiting for the availability of the more 3000 series cards to come out before I pick it up
Right.
and play it, because I kind of want that experience.
Mhm.
So it's touted as being very immersive and very detailed, and I want that high fidelity playability on that thing.
Right.
And it doesn't matter. I got a huge.
What's funny is I
backlog
didn't
gotta play
realize
through.
I just memed that with breathtaking, but no, the lighting effects and overall beauty of the city is breathtaking.
Yeah.
So thank you, SPX. You're breathtaking. No, you're breathtaking. But no, on to the console ports. Let's talk about PS4, Xbox One.
Yeah.
This game should have never been out on that.
No.
Or at the very least,
No.
the most recent graphical build of this game should have never been released on on current gen consoles.
Right.
Never.
Yeah, it should have been skipped. It honestly should have been.
So
I know what they're doing. They're trying to do the Rockstar thing with it with GTA 5, where they did the double dip.
Right, and pushing the graphical fidelity of what the last gen consoles can do. Remember,
Right.
GTA 5 came out on the Xbox 360.
Yes, and the
holy
PS3.
crap, did it look
Was it-
good?
I never played it on that, but
I never played it on the Xbox One, but I did my first full playthrough on the Xbox 360, and then later on played it on PC. And playing it on PC was a whole new game because it was that much better looking.
right.
But it still played very well on the 360, which was honestly pretty shocking. But I've never missed a GTA 5 release on a console, and it felt weird to not buy it on
a console.
And so I bought it day one. But yeah, this game in the state that it's in should have never been released on PS4 or Xbox One. I will say that CD Projekt Red probably should have reevaluated how they were going to release it on the Xbox One and PS4, because I'm not saying it's not playable, and I'm not saying what they're trying to achieve isn't doable. What I'm saying is they needed to tone it down. They needed to make sure that things loaded properly, that missions were playable, that the graphical glitches that exist of characters never fully rendering are not there, because those are definitely problems.
That was the main rumor that was out there when they first announced the delay.
Mm-hmm.
That they're like, okay, they're trying to get it prepped for consoles.
Right.
They're having problems porting it to consoles, and that seems accurate given the state that the console port is in now.
Right.
And I think what the thing was is that Rockstar, when they did GTA 5, I think from the ground up, they started working with the hardware that was in the current console system to make the game work with it. And then afterwards, they ported it to PC, much to the chagrin of PC players.
Right.
But in the end, PC players did get a much superior product and a very solid product.
Yeah.
CD Projekt Red, I think this game was very first and foremost a PC game.
CD Projekt Red is a PC developer.
They're a PC game developer.
Right.
They've always been a PC game developer. And so that's what they started out as. And they're like, okay, once we have a good PC product, then we'll port it down to the consoles. I think taking the power that the PC has and then shrinking it down to a console system and making that work was their folly. I think that's the folly that's happening right now. If they waited until next year, till the next gen systems were more prevalent, probably would not have as much of a problem.
Right.
But they wouldn't have been able to do the double dip.
Yep.
Like Rockstar did. And that's an awfully tempting thing to do. If you can bridge the gap between two different generations and then get everybody to buy this version and then say, oh well, here's the much better version for the next generation, and then people will buy that because they love the game so much.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big ideal way of releasing a big AAA release.
Yeah. So one of my favorite ones, memes that I've seen over the last week was console players furious about Cyberpunk 2077 being a terrible port.
Oh yes, I
know. And the guy with the noose around his neck going first time has like GTA 4 and Batman Arkham Knight and all the other games that it's like these can't even run on modern PCs because the port was so terrible.
I actually went back to a lot of the infamous bad ports, and they're actually very playable now.
Right.
Like Arkham Knight, very playable.
Arkham Knight's playable now, but they released it on PC and then had to actually stop the sale of it and retract the sales and then re-engineer it and then re-release it. And now it's playable.
It's even more than playable. I think it's probably one of my favorite Arkham games, actually, because they had perfected the gameplay and the how smooth it was in the battle. Yeah, probably my favorite one.
GTA 4 is probably the worst release Rockstar has ever put on the PC.
Yes,
it was so janky. Like there are aspects of that game where they upscaled some of the textures, but definitely not all of them.
Not all of the textures. Yes.
And so there are things that just look so completely out of place because they're not rendered properly. They don't have the right number of polygons.
You have a high res texture right next to a low res texture.
Right.
And you're like, what?
Right.
Yeah.
You have a couple of characters who are just stranger missions, and it's like, okay, you look like you're straight out of San Andreas.
Yeah. Actually, have you seen? Okay, so there were some pictures that I saw from character renders of Cyberpunk 2077 on the PS4, where the characters look like something out of the low poly gamer guy. What's that?
Low spec gamer.
Low spec.
He
gamer,
actually did a video on Cyberpunk today. I started watching it, but I ran out of time.
I did watch it. It was kind of funny because what he had found out was like one of the ways to optimize it was to remove the hair. Mm-hmm. So everybody in the game was bald.
Oh, that's another thing about this game, the hair. Like there was promises of like NVIDIA Hairworks and whatnot for like Witcher and a couple other games. The hair in this game, holy crap, it is beautiful.
Yeah.
Every single character that you come across, and especially your A actors, your Judy, your Takamura, you have a bunch of non-player characters that are recurring characters and they're A characters, and so you see them in very fine detail, very close up.
Yeah,
the hair they deserve a freaking Emmy for their hair.
Yeah,
like it's hats very off good. To whoever designed the hair. It's awesome. It looks natural. It's not like when this character's standing still or in photo mode, it's good. But when they're moving, it's like moving in like 3 sections. No, it's like it's naturally moving.
There's
and flowing
actual like real life hair.
Yeah. Right. It looks like real hair.
That makes sense. That disabling it for low spec gamer would make sense. Yes.
Like so, I don't imagine where most of my CPU utilization is going. I know it's going to the hair.
Yeah.
And it's worth it.
The hair. I know the hair processor. Yeah. There's a whole processor dedicated to just rendering hair.
Yeah. SPX, I have not seen that Reddit post. I'll probably look for it, but I know you know how to DM me, so send me a link to that, and I'd be more than happy to take a look. Because that does sound interesting. I'm always dubious of people that say, I found an error in the code and I fixed it. He says there's a Reddit post that's going around that someone discovered the PC config file for Cyberpunk may have been improperly programmed, which I always take that as I found a way to run it faster, but it also breaks 7 other features.
Yeah, I did see
usually the translated version of that, but I'm definitely interested in taking a look.
Yeah, there's also a Digital Foundry video out there about optimizing the PC settings. Mm-hmm. And because they've gone through in each one and they're like, okay, this one doesn't really take a hit, so go ahead and put that on high.
Right.
This one was like the high does give you a big FPS hit, but the difference between high and medium and low is like negligible, so you might as well just put it on this.
Yep.
It'll give you a frame. And so that was a I mean, I don't have the game yet, but you know, if you're looking for ways to optimize it, maybe watching that video might help. Because they really go into detail about what works and what doesn't.
Right. So yeah, like I said, the thing that I found helped the most on the PC was for just reducing the shadows a little bit.
Yeah.
Like most of my shadow settings are at medium, and I think I have shadow resolution at low because the shadows already look great. And even at low, they still look fantastic. But but that's the one setting that I found that if I just turn a couple of those down, I go from like drops to the teens to drop to like 65.
Right.
And I can handle 65.
Yeah, no, 65 is great.
Yeah.
Especially at 1440p. That's really good.
Love the fact that body parts clip through clothes in Cyberpunk. And again, you can't possibly try every single combination of clothing on every single model that's out there, let alone every customization that's out there. And so things like that happen. Have you played Morrowind?
That's a good thing. I'm waiting for this because like by the time I probably get it, it will be heavily patched and probably in a much better state.
Right.
But not that I've heard, because I've talked to several people that I know, friends of mine, not just you, that own it and have played it, and they said the same thing. It's like there's no game-breaking bug that I'm coming across. Yes, I've seen some odd glitches and stuff like that, minor things that everybody's seen in every single open world game. So you know, it's as long as it's not like I can't get past this thing or my game save gets corrupted every like other mission or something like that. Nothing like that. No huge game breaking bugs, just small glitches.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm seeing here. I'm not on the consoles. I understand the outrage.
Yes, I've seen on the consoles, yes.
But let's separate the PC experience, and you have enough relevant hardware to power this game, which this game really does require some of the more high-end cards.
Yes.
I think unless you have maybe a 1070 or higher, you're probably going to experience pretty drastic performance issues and pretty drastic graphical losses for the settings that you have to run out to get this game playable. Now, I'm kind of curious to see, can this game be playable on a GTX 1650 or a 1050 Ti or something like that? Like, I want to try that. I don't know if I'll make
budget cards.
I don't know if I'll make a video of it because I'm a week late at this point. And you know, Low Spec Gamer's already put his thing out, and all I'm going to do if I get a video of can this game be played on a 1650 is, have you tried Low Spec Gamer's method? Because he removed the hair and you got like 130 frames per second.
Yeah, he's got his own thing going on.
I'm not Low Spec Gamer. I want to know if it's playable.
He had to use mod tools to get to that point. He has to use mod tools for most of his things. It's not the Low Spec Gamer settings is not something you just dive into the game and set it to.
Right.
He has to mod it to get to that point.
Yep. So yeah, and SPX puts it perfectly. Game-breaking bugs are the real problem. Regular bugs, no problem. And what I'm seeing in my gameplay is 100% regular bugs. And
even what I was saying before, like even like these glitchy bug things, almost endearing enough to gain popularity because somebody will put out a compilation of funny bugs that this game did, and then it becomes funny at that point, and then people want to play it.
So
because like I want to experience these things too.
So I did have a bug that I had to look up, and found out that it was indeed a bug, and that made me feel a lot better. So minor spoiler: there's a piece of hardware in your brain that is doing funny things to your brain. Okay, it's causing problems with you. And every once in a while, you'll have random problems where you'll all of a sudden you'll glitch and you'll start coughing and like, oh my God, like I feel like I'm going to die kind of thing. And your vision goes up like a little bit of static, just kind of like fading through your vision and like intentional tearing in your vision and things like that. And it's done for effect. And it's usually like a 15-second effect, where it's like, oh, you're having a problem all of a sudden. Oh, no, like I'm having a hard time walking up these stairs. And then it gets to like a minor anxiety attack. And then you reach the top of the stairs and you're like, okay, I'm fine. And everything goes back to normal and you continue with your game. Okay? So that's kind of the gist that they're going for there. That effect got stuck on my system. And I played the game with that glitch for 3 hours.
You're like, is this supposed to happen?
And I could kind of play through it, but at one point I'm like, this has got to stop because number one, I'm getting a headache. Number two, I don't know if this is normal. It could be normal because it's certainly adding to the aesthetic of the game, but I don't know if it's supposed to be normal. And so I looked it up and they said, no, it's only supposed to last 15 seconds. Reload your save file. And so I reloaded the save and it went away and I went, oh, thank God. But I played with it for 3 hours like that.
Well, you would think that if that happened,
3
you'd be like,
hours
okay,
without a crash.
you would think that it would be like, okay, if that was there, you would be some mechanism in the game where I can go get repaired and it would take care of it, right?
Right, and it is a thing that is an actual plot line in the game where you have this thing that's short-circuiting in your brain, and it started in a sequence that is familiar with the short circuit. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going, well, maybe this is just me from now on. I mean, this is a major problem with me. Maybe this is just how I have to live for the next 12 hours. Like, that was the prevalent thought, not this is a bug, I need to fix this.
Yeah, no, I get that. It's like, oh my God, this game's annoying. I think they really thought this was a good idea. I don't know.
Yeah, so... But I seriously played for 3 hours going, well, maybe this was a design choice.
It seems weird, but okay.
So again, it was a bug.
Yeah.
It didn't break the game. It only started ticking me off after 2 hours, and I finally Googled it after 3. But again, the only reason it took me that long to Google it was because the game didn't crash and was playing perfectly well otherwise.
Hey, you know what? You're like that for the first 2 hours. You're like, man, this immersion is great, man. My optics are still glitching out. They really dedicated all this. And they're like, well, wait a second. After the third hour, I was like, there's no way of getting rid of this glitch.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it 80 hours in gameplay.
Yeah, I know.
If this is a persistent thing.
Yeah.
Right. So turns out it wasn't. Turns out I just needed to reload my save file, and off I went. Mm-hmm. But yeah, yes, there's bugs.
Yeah.
I think there's a very, very vocal section of the population who are very justified in their outrage with CD Projekt Red right now.
I think with the console ports and stuff like that, yes.
Yes.
I don't know if it's going to get to the... Well, they've already said that they're offering refunds and stuff like that through Sony, if you feel slighted by it. Yep. And if I recall, the Witcher 3 console releases were not as buggy, but did have a lot of performance problems.
Yes, they did.
Because
remember, Witcher 3 is synonymous with NVIDIA hair effects.
Yes.
Because they integrated that to make the hair look good,
yes.
and consoles don't have that.
And
so there were major performance issues because they didn't take the hair tech out.
It was very janky. And
so all of a sudden, we have 8 CPUs! And they're all making sure that the Witcher's hair is all kind of wavy.
Yeah, I know.
You know?
Yeah. So, but the CD Projekt Red, to their to their credit, they streamlined that enough to be able to even make a Witcher 3 Switch port, so it ran on the Switch. So they worked on it, and it eventually got better. And I still think that this will eventually get better for next gen consoles, or last gen consoles, I say. But it's probably going to take a while. It really is going to take a while.
I also wouldn't be shocked if they just scrapped and said next gen console only, which honestly they should have done.
I think they're going to do a next gen release. I think they want the double dip.
They want the double dip, but here's the thing. Does CD Projekt Red want the double dip, or did Microsoft and Sony pay them to release it on current consoles as well as next gen, either incentivizing the upgrade or making sure that Sony and Microsoft could also double dip?
That I don't know.
Because remember, Sony and Microsoft take 30% of every game sale.
That's true.
So
that's true. So them saying, okay, if you do it for both, we're gonna get double.
Right. And things like that are part of contracts within the gaming industry, within developers and everything else. Hey, we want to pay you to make your game for our system. Happens all the time. It's the same way that sometimes before launching a game, you'll see the NVIDIA logo pop up.
Yeah.
NVIDIA.
Yeah.
Or AMD.
It's a contract with NVIDIA. Yep.
It's because AMD paid that company to optimize the game to run on AMD Radeon better than it would on GeForce, and vice versa. That kind of stuff happens all the time because that company wants to use it as a marketing tactic to get people to buy that product so that game will run better on their product.
Yes.
So I don't necessarily 100% put the blame of all this at CD Projekt Red. They are certainly culpable.
I mean, okay, yes, and I understand.
Don't get me wrong,
people
statement.
Being pissed. I mean, like you said about that meme before. Plenty of PC gamers have had their experience of bad ports.
Yes.
But like I also saying, over time, those go away.
Right.
So take a step back. So you can't play if you own a PS4 or you own Xbox One.
Mm-hmm.
Just wait a couple months.
Yep.
And then by the end.
I have a friend who last Friday he sent me a text and said, "Hey, so I'm trying to play CD Projekt Red, and it's a dog on my Xbox One X."
Yeah.
And he goes, "I can't play it. It's ridiculous. Could you build me a PC?" And I said, "Yeah."
Hey, there we go.
And
absolutely.
Well, what's funny is this particular friend, I don't know if he's watching the show right now, but if you are, hey buddy, he has bounced back and forth between consoles and PCs with the seasons.
For a long time.
Like he'll play one for 6 months, and then I've built him like 3 PCs at this point, and then he sells them 6 months later because he has to go back and play Madden with all of his friends. And then a new PC game will come out that's PC exclusive, and he goes, "Dude, I have to have that on PC. I guess I'm going to build a PC again." And then I build him a PC, and then he sells it 6 months later. Like, yeah. I love him though. He's a great guy.
I'm not I'm like I don't poo-poo anybody who plays on console. I don't. I just don't have time to play on that.
Right.
I have my PC. I work on my PC. I put all my money into my PC. Not all of it, but I put a good chunk of it in there. So that's what I play on.
Yep.
So I'm just going to stick with that.
But no,
it's the most versatile experience in my opinion.
Over the course of a weekend, he went from Friday, I have to play Cyberpunk. I bought it for my Xbox One. It sucks donkey something, and I need you to build me a PC. And I said, okay, well, I have a couple of RTX 2060s. I could probably sell you one of those at a pretty good rate because I don't need both of them. And whatnot, and we'll talk about the rest. I'll figure it out over the weekend, and we'll talk Monday, and we'll see what we got. And by Monday, he had already found. So he paid scalper prices for an Xbox One S. And, so he paid $600 for a One S, but he's happy now, and he's playing Cyberpunk, and he says it performs great.
That's what I heard. Because I watched the Digital Foundry. Video on the next gen performance on the thing, and they still say visuals are not great. They're not up to snuff to the PC visuals. But
Drake says it's Rhett, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. No. Rhett's happy with playing like old school games. He's fine with that.
Yeah.
But like the visuals aren't great, but at least the performance is smooth. Right. It's like, from what I understand,
and I'm getting the same impression from a lot of different sources.
PS5 is a good solid 60 frames a second. The Xbox One S or the Xbox One or whatever they call it.
Series S.
Series S. I hate their naming convention. It's just garbage. It's a solid 30, but the visuals are better. So either way, you get a much better experience on console if you go next gen, which of course that makes obvious sense. The previous console generation is 7 years old now. Yeah, thereabouts. I don't think I'd want to play this game on 7-year-old PC hardware either. So it would look horrible.
There's Skull again with the plug. Speaking of old school games, Rhett's Game Night Tuesdays are a good time. Yeah, we've started doing Gaming Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Pacific time over on the Discord.
I've been wanting to do that, except 8 o'clock is my son's bedtime, and so I don't get a chance to go hop on.
Rhett shot me an invite last night, and last night I was already in bed. Like, I was just done with the day. It's like, nope.
Well, apparently they played CSGO.
Yeah.
I'm not great at that, so that's fine.
You and I still have to get in a match of that sometime.
I know.
Yep. One of these days.
Well, I did it with Claw one time, and he definitely bested me. But of course, he's in Norway, so I don't know if it was a lag thing. It was probably. I'm gonna just chalk it up to lag.
Well, Skull has seen me in Crisis, and he's experienced a rocket to the face. So.
Oh yes, no, I did actually. I did. I was with you guys.
You were
when
in that
did
game.
The Crisis.
That was fun.
For the time I was there, I did pretty good.
Yeah,
I did do okay.
What's funny is I didn't realize that we had started a team match. I thought we were just on deathmatch.
Oh, you started just blasting people.
And so
in the face?
and so Claw and I walked around the corner and we saw each other, and both of us just started going. We didn't hit anything.
Yeah.
It was like Pulp Fiction where there was like 20 bullet holes behind you.
All over this.
And both of us just went, Wait. There's a green tag above you. Oh, we're on the same side. Okay, cool.
Oh, okay, there we go. Okay.
It was a tank shell, not a rocket. Right.
Yes, that's fine.
Yeah. But you said rocket to the face. And that will make the final cut in that video. I promise you that. You're going to be famous, Skull. Anyway, it is 10:15.
It is
15 minutes past the hour. This is definitely a good stout. The stout is good.
Yes.
It is definitely a bit boozy. The booze is a lot more pronounced than a lot of bourbon barrel aged stouts that I've had.
Boozy isn't not necessarily bad.
It's not
either.
a bad thing. I'm not saying that is a bad thing. I'm saying a lot of times when you get just a straight up stout that's 12%, you go, that's really boozy. And then when you barrel age it, between the bourbon and the oak and the coffee and everything else that kind of gets mixed in with that,
Mellow out.
It mellows out a bit. This one is still boozy.
Yeah.
Right. It is not a smooth stout. But
yeah, I've experienced that too.
But it has all the right flavors there. Where it's got the coffee, it's got the roast, it's got the chocolate, it's got a little bit of a sweetness right up front. And then as the middle of the flavor takes over, it's bourbon and char and oak. And, it's
all the good stuff. Yeah,
it's all the good stuff. All the stuff
all
that
the
you
good
really
stuff.
want.
Yeah,
is right there. And then just a little bit of an over boozy finish. Like I'm drinking a really strong whiskey cocktail, which again, it's not a bad flavor. It's just a little bit more harsh than some other strong bourbon barrel aged stouts that I've had. So fantastic. I don't think this one quite gets a 4 on Untappd for me. I think this is going to be like a 3.75.
3.75. Okay.
Yeah, it's close, but I reserve 4s for like dynamite.
I hand out 4s pretty easily on Untappd, but
you and John both rate a lot more generously than I do.
I tend to be more reserved, but that's usually my limit. Like I'll give 4s out pretty good. 4.25s, 4.5s, those are exceptional ones.
Right.
Those are very, very exceptional.
My highest rating ever is a 4.75. I have yet to find a perfect beer, and so I can't give a 5. 5 is perfect, and perfect to me has not existed yet.
Yeah, I've not. I think the highest one, or some of the highest ones I've had, was like Mother of All Storms.
Yeah,
is one of my.
Yeah, I think that one's a 4 or 5 on mine.
God, such a good beer.
So good. I have one in my fridge.
I gotta get that.
But unlike you guys, I'm also not afraid to call a bad beer a bad beer, and so I have a lot of like 1.5s in mind. Whereas John goes like, I get what they were going for. It's a 3.25. I went, no, that's like a 1.75 at best. Are you kidding me? I don't even want to finish this. He goes, yeah, but I get what they were going for.
I sometimes feel the post rating guilt where I'm like, you know what? Maybe I was a little too harsh at first. I'm going to go back and bump it up a little. But there's also times where like, you know what? I was too generous. I went back and I bumped it down.
Right.
Like, you know what? This is actually kind of crap. So
yeah. And so I, 3 and above is I enjoy this beer. I would definitely drink this beer again if I saw it on tap.
Yeah.
So that's a 3 or 4 or a perfect 5. When I start getting down into the 2s, it was good / okay.
Yeah.
Like man, this IPA is really great, but it has this weird dank that I just can't name, and it's just like, like it's leaving me with a bad taste. That's like a 2.5.
Yeah, 2.5 is what I call drinkable. Whereas like, okay, it's not impressive, but it's not. I'm not spitting it out either.
Right, but I'm also not afraid to go down into the 1s. Now, I don't think I've ever given below a 1.0.
I have. Oh,
have you?
I definitely. Oh yeah.
I didn't rank the pepperoni pizza beer, and so
I actually rated that one kind of high,
like 2.75, 3.
I think I gave it a 2.75 or something like that because I'm like, you know what? Okay, it's not like a super enjoyable beer, but man, they're going for some. But
man, it tastes like pepperoni pizza.
And I picked that flavor up. Right. at first I didn't hate it at first. I'm like, you know what? It's not. So I did give it a little bit higher.
Yeah.
I will also give points for like innovation.
Right.
I'll give points for like innovations. Like, okay, I might not enjoy this, but I get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
The flavors that you say are on the bottle are in what I taste.
Yes.
It may not mesh well, but I'll give you points for that.
Right.
I'll also do the opposite where they say they have flavors on the bottle and I taste none of it. I will ding them points.
Case in point.
Exactly. Yeah.
This
They
was
say they
not
have the flavor on
oaky.
it.
This was not blueberry. This was not golden. This was just tart sour ale through and through. No evolution. No weird things to pick out. This was one flavor, and it wasn't even the flavor that they mentioned, and they mentioned 5 of them. And to me, this is a 175, where it's drinkable, but it wasn't good. And nothing in the description made it to my tongue.
I probably would have given it a 2.5 or a 2.75, depending on how much I enjoyed the sourness of it.
And C for description, I think that's disingenuous. I think you're trying to be too generous to them.
Yeah.
They didn't achieve even their goal.
Yeah.
Whether or not they brewed a beer that was good is, questionable.
I think that's part of the marketing of some of the beer too, whereas like they'll have an idea.
Right.
And then they'll throw a bunch of ingredients in there. And then the final product comes out and they're like, well, it doesn't really taste like that, but we're going to market that anyway because that's what we put in there.
Right.
And they'll like overly flower the description of it to get people to think that way.
Yeah.
Because I mean, there's a lot to be said about the
reading the description and getting your mind prepped for what's coming.
Yes,
right, totally.
Exactly. Having the pull of suggestion. Like there's a suggestion that people are already trying to tell you to go down this route. And then you're like, oh, yes, I do get this, whatever.
Yeah. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for today's show. Thank you so much for watching episode 162 of Talking Heads. I'm Jeff. He's Steve. Join us every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Pacific time for the latest in beer and tech news. Follow the links down in the video description for the Patreon and Float Plane, and join our exclusive Discord server where you can chat with myself, John, Rhett, Steve, all the hosts from Talking Heads, and join the ever-growing community over there. And you can also take part in our Secret Santa gift opening on the Discord this Saturday at 4 p.m. Pacific time.
That's right. Do you got yours?
I did get mine the other day.
I know who gave it to you, too.
I know, because it was a local delivery. It came via courier.
I know, right?
you know what's funny about that? And I'm going to retell this story on Discord. I thought it was a porch pirate at first. Because really? The dogs started going nuts. And I went, what in the world? Because they'll go nuts when we get deliveries, FedEx, Amazon, whatever. And so I was down in my office, and they were barking for a couple minutes, and no one else was in the house. It was just me and the dogs. And so I come walking up the landing, and I see this person, and it's raining outside, so they've got a coat on and whatnot, and they're like kind of like jogging across the street like this. And but their back is to me, and then they jump in a Camry and they drive away. And I went, well, that's weird.
That's weird, yeah.
And I went, I was expecting an Amazon package today. What the hell? Like, did they get it and the dogs didn't go off and now a porch pirate just grabbed me? Like, I've seen those videos.
Yeah.
And I opened the door and here's Craft Computing, Secret Santa. And I went, oh, that was just delivered. Well, that's weird for FedEx to drive a Camry. Wait, there's no postage on this.
Yep, I know who delivered it.
So I think I've got it narrowed down to who delivered it. Let's say that.
Of course. Yeah.
There's only so many Portland peeps.
Yes.
Anyway, thank you so much for watching the show. Join us every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Pacific time for the latest in beer and tech news, and we will see you next time.
After party.
See you guys there.
All right, see you guys there.
Later.